So we are back. Okay, we're recording as well. So we were at legal counsel. Where are we moving to next? I feel like my agenda brain. Jaime now. Okay, we're playing jump between.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning and welcome panel members and stakeholders. Thank you all for your patience as we dealt with these technical difficulties. And thank you for the opportunity to provide a summary of the employment training panel's funding. Before I start, I would like to say happy early Halloween to everybody. Hopefully everybody has a great Halloween. It is my favorite time of year, so. Regarding the funding, going into the details, as Acting Director Cooper stated, today's panel meeting is for approximately $11 million. That includes 5 approved delegation orders for a total of $204,286. The delegation orders are proposals capped at $75,000 and approved under the delegated authority by the director on a continuous flow basis. If all proposals scheduled for this panel meeting are funded today, the panel will be approving 39 projects. Regarding the demand, we have 94 applications in demand currently. 73 applications are with the regional offices in development. 17 applications are under review by the application assessment unit, and 4 applications have been submitted and are pending review. The estimated value of the 94 applications is $20.5 million and breaks down as follows. $13.9 million in demand in single employer contracts, $110,537 in demand for small business, $4.3 million in demand for multiple employer contracts, $2.1 million demand for apprenticeships, and 0 demand for critical proposals at this time. We are currently within our allocations for this state fiscal year. That is the final portion of my report, and I have one action item related to the consent calendar. I would like to request that the panel members identify which proposals, if any, they would like to pull from today's consent calendar, and then for a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception and identity of those proposals being pulled, which will be heard individually.
Thank you. So does any member wish to pull any items from the consent calendar?
Yes.
All right, which ones?
Like to pull tab 2, Alpha Mechanical, tab 3, Axle Guard Manufacturing, tab 7, Earthlight LLC, and those are my requests.
2, 3, and 7. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to pull tab 5.
All right.
California Manufacturing Engineering Company.
Okay, and then I also have tab 4, Boehringer Ingelheim Fremont, and tab 9, O'Neill, and tab 14, Snack King. So do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar with the remaining tab missing?
Second.
So we are pulling tabs, just to make sure, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 14. So the motion is to approve the consent calendar minus tabs 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 14. Do I hear an approval on that?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor say aye. Those who oppose, nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you, panel.
All right. I think we are now moving to our policy committee report out.
Sure thing. The ETP Policy Committee met at 1 p.m. yesterday, Thursday, October 26th via Zoom. Agenda discussion topics were as follows. We had a presentation on efforts by the Labor and Workforce Development Agency, or LWDA, in the agriculture industry, given by Deputy Secretary for Immigrant and Agricultural Workforce, Sebastian Sanchez. We also had a presentation on ETP's related efforts to support the LWDA initiative by allocating some of the remaining funds for this fiscal year to the agricultural workforce. There was good discussion on the importance of these funds being used to improve job quality, worker voice, and wages for agricultural workers. We also had a presentation on safety training courses that are mandated either federally or by the state of California, that are excluded from ETP reimbursement. We then had a presentation on an ongoing effort to create an interagency agreement with the California Energy Commission to fund training for electric vehicle charging station installers or electricians. We also had a presentation given by Eldon Davidson of the California Community College Collaborative on issues surrounding the concurrent enrollment regulation. All items were discussion only, and we did not have any action items, but anyone that has a topic that they'd like to propose for a future policy committee topic or agenda item can email their ideas to Elizabeth Testa, our policy manager at ETP. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on that report out, or any comments from the panel? No? Okay, thank you. We are now moving over to our presentation from the audit team, and Shannon.
Test. Hello. Hello. Hi, panel members. Good morning, panel members. My name is Shannon Spence, and I am the audit manager, ETP. I'm here to present some information about the audits unit and just give you some general statistics about audits that we've conducted for the last fiscal year. So just because this is the first time the panel has heard any information about audits from ETP, I wanted to give you a little bit of a background about what we do at ETP and what our role is and how we kind of function as a unit. Next slide. All right, so the audit unit consists of myself and 5 staff auditors. I report directly to Jaime Gutierrez, the deputy director, and we have 5 auditors who are located throughout California. We have 4 located in Sacramento and 1 auditor that's located in North Hollywood. Next slide. The audit unit operates off Regulation 4448, which mandates that ETP perform performance-based audits on closed contracts each fiscal year. ETP audits are performed under Generally Accepted Government Auditing Standards, or GAGAS, which are the guidelines for audits created by the Comptroller General of the Audit Agency of the United States, Congress, the GAO, or the Government Accountability Office. GAGAS requires that all ETP staff adhere to strict standards and regarding audit practices and reporting processes. We also have audit authority through the contract language, section 5.6, which just basically says we have the right to examine records during the contract up to 3 years after the fiscal closeout. Next slide. So because we follow GAGAS standards, we have lots of rules we have to follow. So one of the rules that we have are that we have to complete at least 80 hours of continuing professional education every 2 years. And we are also subject to peer review. So the ETP audit unit also gets audited. Our peer reviews are conducted by the Department of Finance, and those happen every 3 years. And we just ended our term on June 30th, so we're due for our next peer review, and we will be working with Department of Finance to have that done in the coming months. We perform 2 types of audits. So we do a standard field audit, and then we also do a limited scope desk review. And the main difference between a field audit and a desk review is that the desk review is much narrower scope. So what we'll look at not every part of the contract, we're doing a little bit of a narrow focus. And the benefit of doing those is it allows the audit staff to look at more contracts, but not impede on the workload. ETP audits are very complex. There's a lot of things that we look at, so they take some time. So desk reviews are a nice way for us to still look at contracts, but just maybe not do a full in-depth audit on those. And they also take less time, so we were able to look at them more quickly through the contract term. And, oops, go back one, I'm sorry. Yeah, so how we select audits, this is a big question we get all the time. So we have a judgmental process where we select audits based on a judgmental process or a random selection. So the judgmental audits are often a selection from contract earned amounts, so very high dollar amounts, monitoring reports if there's issues that we noted in the monitoring reports, performance summaries, prior performance history summaries, and then concerns the panel raises. So if you guys have concerns that you bring up, we look at those comments when we're selecting audits because we want to make sure that we're getting all those bullet points that you guys brought up. At the end of the audit process, there is a final report that is issued, and it contains a detailed analysis of everything that we looked at during the audit. And then if there's any disallowed costs associated with those, the contractor will be aware of that and they will have to repay those costs. If the contractor disagrees with any of the audit findings that we have, they do have the capacity to file an appeal. And those appeals are directed to our legal unit with final authority from the executive director. And so the goal of the audit, so an ETP audit is really to gain reasonable assurance that they comply with the contract terms. So an audit will look at all performance objectives to make sure that those objectives were met. We test wage, we're testing all these things that are in the actual contract language to make sure that they're following those rules. And I think there's often a misconception with that ETP money is a grant or it's free money, but it's not. It's a performance-based contract. You have to earn the money. So in an audit, we're making sure that all those bullets, all those items are met so that you earn the money the way that it was meant to be earned. So, yep. Next slide. So these are some statistics about the last fiscal year. So really it's July 1st, 2022 through present. Which our last report was issued on September 18th, so just a little bit after the fiscal year. So we completed 21 audits. Of those 21, 9 were desk reviews and 12 were field audits. Of those 21, we looked at 14 single employer contracts and 7 multiple employer contracts. Within those 7 multiple employer contracts, we looked at 4 JATCs. Geographically, we looked at 10 contracts that were in the Northern California region and 11 that were in the Southern California region. I'll just add to most of our work is actually out of Southern California. So about 70% of our audits are in Southern California, just because of the amount of work that is produced from that region. So we do quite a bit of work down south. And then statistics for what these last 21 audits. So we looked at about just under $8 million of contract amount. And of that $8 million, we disallowed $212,505.81. So just about 3% of what we looked at. Generally, contractors perform well. So we're not here getting thousands and thousands of dollars back. It's a very small percentage that we're actually coming back. ETP audits is not a revenue generating audit. We are not in the business of making money for ETP. Really, we're just a compliance unit. We're just making sure contractors comply. Our ultimate goal in the audits unit is we want to make sure everyone earns all the money. We don't ever want to go in and have to tell people they have to pay back. So it's really important that we try to help everyone make the requirements and make all the contract stuff. Average auditor hours per audit, 224. We are currently working on 23 audits at the moment, and we have 25 contracts that are being scheduled for audit in the next coming year. So of those 21 audits that I just noted, these are the most common issues. So number 1, inaccurate reporting of trainee wage rates. Of the 13 of the 21 contracts that we looked at had that issue. Unsupported or ineligible training hours, 12 of those 21 contracts had that issue. Failure to meet minimum wage requirements, 10 of the 21. Trainees that were employed in occupation not included in the contract, 7 of those 21 contracts. And failure to meet full-time employment requirements, 6 of those 21 contracts had that issue. And that's it for me. I can answer any questions you guys have.
One question for me.
Yeah.
Is there payback terms specified in when it's disallowed?
Yes and no. There's not that all of the repayment goes to our fiscal unit. So once the audit is issued, we turn it over to our fiscal unit and then they kind of take care of that. I believe that they work with the contractors regarding that. I don't believe that there's like a set, you must pay it back in this amount of time. But I think that the fiscal unit tries to work with them the best way, depending on how much the money is as well too.
Shannon, I have a question around those single employers and those multiple employer contracts. Did any come back with 0 audit findings, or did every single one have some form of audit?
Yeah, no, so we definitely have some contracts that have no findings at all. And so of those 21, I believe there were 2, there was 3 of those 21 that had no findings. So yeah, we do see those. That actually is very common to have no findings. Sometimes though, I will say, we'll have admin findings. So there may not be a disallowed cost associated with the audit, but there might be an admin finding. Inaccurate reporting of trainee wage rates is our #1 finding. There is no monetary amount associated with that. There's no way we can disallow money for that. So it's most of the time it's an admin finding. So an audit might have a completely clear, no findings, but we'll have those admin findings.
Okay, so it does seem like we do find errors in the majority somewhere through audit that maybe should be, like when I look at those, I'm not going to say excuses, we look at those findings, I look at it and I'm like, where is the accuracy not happening
Yeah.
when it's in the process of billing, invoicing from fiscal over to audit and just making sure that everything is tight with data coming in? That's, I guess, is like, is there somewhere in the process where we should be checking before it gets to audit for those findings?
Yeah, and I'll just say too, I think there's a lot of questions sometimes about where they can catch these things in the contract. And ETP staff does a great job. So monitoring mostly focuses on training records.
Yeah.
Fiscal mostly focuses on retention. They both don't look at everything like we look at it. And I'll just say also too, ETP is very complex and there's a lot of data that we're going through. To have a perfectly clean audit is almost like, it's hard to see because there's so many data points.
Yeah.
So, when we see these kind of errors, it's not really meaning that they did a bad job. They're just sometimes there's a typo or there's numbers are transfixed. Sometimes we see really bad contracts. Sometimes that they're not. But I would say overall, most contractors perform very, very well. But those little errors are just because people are human and they make mistakes. So
I'm looking at Mike's grabbing a microphone. I don't know what's going on.
I was actually just wanting to add two comments. One was in response to panel member Hill's comment. We do have a regulation, which is section 4449, which outlines our collection procedures. And then in addition to that, audits and looking at our audit regulation is something that's been brought up as a topic that we want to have at a coming committee meeting. And that's an item that we'll be looking at because we'll be reviewing the audit process, looking at the regulations, also looking at the consequences resulting from an audit and a failed audit.
Fantastic.
So getting to that really quickly, I am a strong believer in consequences for failing to meet audits. And so where you and the team have found significant concern as panel members, I would expect and suggest that we be able to see that, especially from recurring contractors that are coming again before us. And then we don't have a mechanism at this point where we can highlight of like, oh, this was really bad performance. Specifically for me, at least, my concern of failure to meet the minimum wage requirements. I want to see that and I want to be careful of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
And if I may, Madam Chair, on two topics, Member Newsom, I think that's a great idea. And I think it's something that we should try to incorporate a little more information into the application process as part of the audit so that you all have an opportunity to see that as well. So we're going to try and work on that aspect of it. And then the second part to your question, Chair Betancourt, one of the things that we're trying to establish now and working on from an ETP staff perspective is that now that we're getting a little bit better engagement between audits and our development teams, we want to have that audit information flow to them so that we can start looking at what are these things that are common things that occur as part of the process, and then have them start looking at those things at the monitoring of the contracts during that process so that we can hopefully correct it and it doesn't become an issue at the end.
No, fantastic. I think for me, hearing Shannon, I'm going to say, demystify audit processes, it may behoove everyone to have us do the same with, say, the fiscal side, so we can understand invoicing and the common challenges that we're seeing there in the same way. So maybe we want to look at that as a future panel presentation, is very similar to what Shannon's done. Let's do the same with fiscal so we can just like highlight what we're seeing, the challenges that are being faced, being just very transparent, I think would be beneficial to all.
And who was a gold star as well for meeting you would be helpful as well. So.
Thank you. Any other questions from the panel? Do we have any public questions or comments for Shannon on that presentation about the audit team?
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. I believe we are now moving on to proposals.
Good morning, panel members.
Good morning.
I'd like to start with tab number 2, Alpha Mechanical Inc. Alpha Mechanical Inc. has withdrawn from today's panel meeting and will return to a future panel meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be helpful for me to raise the concerns I had for you to relay to them before?
We've sent questions to them regarding
Their high turnover rate.
Right.
I would really like to see job number 2 wages for the post-retention contractual wage match those in job number 1, increase those wages. And then a question pertaining to their scope of work or their work outlook for where they are building new things. If it's public works and prevailing wages, why am I not seeing those kind of wages?
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to tab number 3, Axelgard Manufacturing Co. Ltd. Has also withdrawn from today's panel meeting and will turn to a future panel meeting.
Similar concerns with them too. Job number 2 matching job number 1.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, panel members. I believe that takes us to tab 4. This is a training proposal for Boehringer Ingelheim Fremont Inc., priority industry and a repeat contractor. Total ETP funding being requested today is for $499,560. And that's to train an estimated number of trainees of 423 under job 1 retrainee and 60 under job 2 for job creation. ETP training will be occurring at its headquarters and sole location in Fremont. This will be BIFI's 3rd ETP contract and is 3rd within the last 5 years. And here today to answer your questions are the company representatives and its subcontractor.
Thank you. It's not on. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Okay. Again, thank you so much for your time this morning. In consideration of our application, my name is Margot Parks. I am Senior Associate Director of State Government Affairs for Boehringer Ingelheim. It's a mouthful. So we really appreciate your time and consideration of this application. We're happy to answer current questions about the current application, but before my colleague Amanda comes up, just want to give you a little bit of background and context on the application as well as the company. So as you may know, Boehringer Ingelheim, or as we affectionately refer to it as BI, is a pharmaceutical company with an ever-growing presence in Fremont, California. For more than a decade, BI has been manufacturing our own medications as well as medications for our clients on a contract basis. Our customers, as well as our parent company, are reliant on us for our staff knowledge and expertise in producing our medications as well as those for our customers. As you might imagine, the continuous training of our employees is critical to the success of bringing safe medications to patients. Whether it's a cancer treatment that we produce for a client or a biosimilar medication that we produce for ourselves, the ability of our employees to conduct this highly technical and precise work is paramount. And these skills are one of the reasons that our manufacturing site in Fremont is our only US site for human medication, and also why our customers turn to us to produce their life-saving medication. Of note, recent and ongoing training of our employees is currently helping to manufacture a product that will add competition to the marketplace, increase access for patients, and help drive down the cost of a healthcare system that we all know is too high. We look forward to providing you additional details and information about our application and respectfully ask for your support at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Bowman. I am the Manager of Quality Systems and Compliance for GMP Training at BI Fremont. I started there in 2014 as a temporary employee myself. I started on the manufacturing floor. I worked my way up into training specialist over cell culture and purification operations, and I am now over all of the training at BI Fremont. I really would like you to understand the importance of training and how it helps not only develop the person for BI, but for the technology industry. They can take the skills, soft skills even, that they've developed, and they can apply them to their future and their career. We hire people that are straight out of high school and people that have master's and bachelor's degrees. We take that into consideration when we provide the training. We give unlimited amount of time for them to gain the skills needed to execute the task prior to performing the medication, to make the medication on the floor, right?
Fantastic.
Here to answer any questions you need.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So I look at your applications coming in, I look at the timeframes, I look at the numbers, and I kind of went back on a few because I was like, look, this is great work happening, good wages happening, training programs happening. But one of the questions I had, and I saw it in a couple of the prior applications, is the accuracy of the training plan. And what I mean by that is how many people we said we were going to train and how many we actually did. And what I'm seeing is a pattern is the number that comes in, we are not always good at staying on that number. We may say we're going to train 345 and we put in for 441. Or in another one, there was a contract that had 175 counted as new hire. Great, we created more jobs. We trained 50 something more in new hire and less in job one. I just would like, as we look at this, and obviously training is really important within the organization, I hear that, is an accuracy in the numbers of what are we looking at as we assign this fund, accuracy of those numbers, because I look at that and I'm like, I feel like we might just be pushing people through to come back for more funds. Is that, understand where I'm coming from?
So when we hire people at BI, we put a lot of effort up front. They go through a lot of productive lab. That's actually the majority of our training, and it's required in order for them to produce the high quality on the floor. So the SOPs, so the reading and understanding, the instructor-led trainings or the computer-based trainings are ongoing and continuous. So up front, someone has to put in hundreds of hours of training in order to become qualified to work on that floor. So the first year is critical. And after that, it goes more into maintaining, developing, and staying up with current regulations, training new skills. And we've been able to expand at our facility with a new line and new products. And so the headcount has gone up exponentially since I started there. We were less than 200 staff when I first started. I remember being on the floor, 20 of us, and now there's hundreds in manufacturing.
You can see the job creations growing, and you look at the prior applications and the numbers. It's more the accuracy of what is in the training projections against numbers coming in. That's,
Absolutely,
yeah.
Challenge we have when we submit an application is to kind of guess, how is this all going to roll out? I think, and staff can jump in here, is that when we construct the ETP application, we're really looking at total hours and less on a trainee-centric. Maybe going forward, we should look back and see, well, what were the numbers and adjust those. But when it comes down to if you look at the table, you'll see, well, it looks like 80 hours average in job 2 and 60 in job 1. Let's hope that kind of works out the math. And I share your concern. It's like, well, no, it's not, and a lot of it's a good thing because you're getting more participants in the ETP, especially in the job 2. Like for Boehringer, we put in for 50 new hires. They actually did 132.
It's great to have the job creation. However, what I feel when I see these is we're looking at, you were saying 135, for example. So you said 345 team members in the prior contract would go through training. 441 did. I want to make sure the curriculum is different in each program because we're looking at this rather than it feels like we're just coming back, putting them in whichever curriculum. There isn't really a focus program. It's more, here's the dollars, go spend, versus here's my tailored program. I know how many I'm putting through. 100 over seems high at times. That's just when I look at those, and even the prior one as well was similar. So that's just my ask, is to think about, as we're writing our proposals, what are the programs we're feeding to, rather than we're just trying to fit people in to move through. Not saying that's what's happening, but it gives an optics when coming back so frequently. And I will be transparent to the whole audience. You have this contract that you have an active contract that is expiring, that still has quite a tenure on it and already come back. There's no clause here about you can't do that. But in fairness of that, when I see this, that's the image that's portrayed when I'm reading it.
think it's ripe for a policy committee. agenda.
Absolutely. I'm happy to add that to policy agendas.
My slide. Right.
Yeah, happy to add it to a policy agenda. Gretchen, note that one down.
It's noted. Staff, thank you.
So that was just my question. I don't know if anyone else had any questions for this proposal, but I just wanted a
Similar
discussion.
comments to that. I hope the rest of the audience is listening to the comments of the chair. This is an important topic. I do commend you in your proposal here,
Sure, and I'll
the
do
high
public
wages. I'm happy
testimony
with that.
at the end, and it smacks of like how we allocate the funds, do coalesces under this topic, but I'm glad you brought it up, really. I mean, we can clean this up.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I have no further questions. I don't know if anyone else does. So is there a motion to approve this proposal?
Motion to approve contract number ET 24-0227, the amount of $499,560.
Okay, second down there. Thank you. Is there any comment from the public on this proposal? All right, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Got the applicant in tears, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
thank Nomura and Chris Over and Samantha Wang for all the good work on the application.
Thank you, Phil Herrera from Herrera and Company, just to put it on the record who that was.
You want to make sure that thanks.
We
is
all
there.
know who Phil is, but yeah, I want to get it on the for the record. So thank you, panel. Let's turn to tab 5. This is a training proposal for California Manufacturing and Engineering Company, LLC. They're a priority industry and a repeat, or they're actually not a repeat contractor. There is a correction to the number of employees in California. It's supposed to be 182. Total ETB funding being requested today is for 191,429. And that's to train an estimated number of trainees of 182 under Job 1, retrainee HUA, and 21 under Job 2, Job Creation HUA. ETP training will be provided at its headquarters location in Kerman. And this is, as I said, their first ETP contract if approved.
Chris,
So,
sorry, can I just check? You said the total number of employees in California is 182?
182, yes.
Thank you.
No problem. And here today to answer your questions are the company representatives. Excuse me, I did have one last correction. There was an error under the wage modification to the 130. It's supposed to be that they are requesting for $18 per hour for Job 1 and Job 2, not coming down as far as they could, which they could technically request $17 for Job 1 and $15.50 for Job 2 per the HUA guidelines within our ETP program. So the correction is $18 for both job numbers is what they're coming to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman and members, thank you for having us allowing us to present. I am Frank Shanahan. I'm the Chief Financial Officer with California Manufacturing. With me is Emerson Estrada, a consultant that has helped us with the program, with filing forward and so on. This is our first time, and I apologize, I'm a little nervous. So really here to answer any questions you have, but tell you just a little bit about the company. We are in Kerman, which is in Central California, about 8 miles west of Fresno. We manufacture and distribute scissor lifts, aerial lifts, which are scissor lifts and boom lifts. And we're about to expand a little bit into some crane type of equipment. We've survived COVID. And this year after that, we were able to maintain the same level of sales. And now we're kind of growing exponentially. We're seeing incredible growth for ourselves. So with that, we'll be hiring a lot of people that are going to need training and a lot to do within our own work. So questions, please.
Yeah, Frank, I had the question because I saw the wage modification at $15.50. And I also saw the post on Job 2, Job Creation post wage at 18. I was wondering how you were going to get from 15.50 to 18. But you just corrected that.
Okay.
But furthermore, this correction is at the last minute. So how did you come to the conclusion to modify that to 18?
Okay.
My name is Emerson Estrada. I'm the consultant for the company. We had actually presented that information when we saw the the error on the app, on the form, and we had a conversation with our staff representative, and we had that modification made. It was an updated of we had applied for these funds 2 years ago. It was an old application, and so it was suggested that we update to reflect our current, and that's what we did. So that's where the 18 came from.
So you just said something that piqued my interest, which was not necessarily a good thing. You said that we applied for these funds 2 years ago. Did it ever go through? Because there's no prior contract on record. So I'm just curious. That was it just piqued my interest. Sorry.
I'm not exactly sure when the application was submitted, but it was a long time ago.
More than
a year. Yeah, I can't remember how long it was, but it was not. As a matter of fact, I reached out to ETP and said, "What is the status of the application?" And that's when we were prompted and we were approached. So I don't know what happened.
So it never got to panel to be awarded. That's what I want to check, that our records are accurate.
That's
so
correct.
okay.
Never. No. Yeah.
Okay, just checking, because that piqued it's not in the panel packets. It usually comes up. Staff are pretty good at that. I do have one question on this, and that's why I wanted the clarification from Chris. You have 182 employees here in California, and your plan is to train 182 in job one, which is the retrainee incumbent workforce. Can you help me understand how you plan who are you going to use to train these 182? Are we in peer training? But also how that training is affecting everyone in the organization with the proposal at hand?
Yeah. Well, with the 182, so because of the expansion mode, we're hoping to increase these folks in wages by providing this training program. You see, the company has never moved through an expansion like now. So the training program will be geared to train the entry-level workers into mid-level positions. And as we backfill those positions with new employees, we will train those folks as well. Lowest paying position will be 18, but as they receive these skills, they'll be able to move into higher mid-level and higher level positions, and hence the increase in wages within the company.
I understand that. You have two categories of jobs here. Job one, which is your retrainee, and your estimated number of trainees is 182, which to me equates to every team member on estimate is being trained, because you say there's 182 employees. Then job two is, I think, what you're angling at, the 21 that are, hey, we're bringing in new hires, the job creation. So we're bringing in 21 new jobs within the organization. That's right. That's the training program for new hires and that side. What I'm asking more is about job one. You're saying your estimation is all employees. And what you just said to me was lower and middle level, not necessarily your middle to higher level, how that is working. So I just wanted to make sure that that number is accurate.
It is accurate, yes. And we are hoping to go from lower to middle, from middle to high. So there are opportunities for growth. And I'll say that we're trying to introduce a lean manufacturing environment. This is new to the company, which would involve everyone in the company to learn the basic principles. There are people that are familiar with lean, and they would be receiving more mid to advanced lean manufacturing training. That's why we're involving everyone in the company.
And our occupation list that we have is the correct wages. So your admin staff, the highest wage is $33.65, and your engineers, I'm just looking at this, like if I was thinking about managers, is up to $63.46. That's the highest paid within the organization of the 182.
That's correct.
I just want to make sure that data is accurate for when we go forward. Any other questions from anyone? No? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on what you were asking to do. Thank you. Any other questions from the panel? All right, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve California Manufacturing Engineering Company LLC in an ETP funding amount of $191,429.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You will please turn to tab number 7, Earthlight LLC. This would be Earthlight LLC's first ETP project. Earthlight LLC is requesting $133,400 in total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 114 retrainees over 2 job numbers. This training project will support the company's expansion plan to integrate new business units and introduce new products, with the most effective manufacturing processes, quality assurance, and minimal product failures as possible. Representatives from Earthlight LLC are here today to address questions from the panel.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jorge Pineda. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Earthlight. I've been with the company for 2 years, and we proudly can say we're the manufacturer of the best massage and spa equipment in the world. We are based in San Diego, where the company has been for the last 30 years. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have about our program. And thank you for the opportunity for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha from a fellow San Diegan. I had pulled this off of consent simply to ask you if you'd be willing to move the wages of job number 2 to match the wages of stated in job number 1.
Yeah, the goal is basically with the standardization and structure we're trying to put in place in the company and process improvements. The idea is to continually increase the salaries of people. Not for you guys to know, but when I was hired, the salary is way too low. We've been doing already some of that, and I will continue doing that. We're very proud to say that we have employees that were with the company for the last 30 years, because not only they're very well treated and they're properly compensated, but they also like the culture of the company.
And you have
So
a low
yes.
turnover rate, so I can see their happiness there. So with that said, you're comfortable with that moving? Thank you very much.
And then I
no-
have
Go
one,
ahead.
just again, it's very similar to the last. We're seeing your projected number is your 100% of your employees. I just want to make sure that the wage table of occupations is accurate, that we're saying the highest paid on here is at $27 an hour, just making sure that this is accurate when we're saying we're training all 104 on average. You're saying, I want to train everyone. And who will be delivering training if we're looking at those processes of everyone going through some form of training?
For all the operational personnel, I'm going to be doing the training. I've been in manufacturing for over 30 years. I'm a lean expert, a black belt, and I've also been a professor at the university for 15 years. So I got all the material that I need to help put structure in the company, to implement lean manufacturing, and to champion these initiatives.
So we probably aren't going to see an average of 104. We may see more like a total of more like 100 if a few of you are training more than saying every team member is going to go through this training. Okay. And the wages are accurate in the occupation based on the number of people and the occupations that are going through training.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Motion to approve Earthlight LLC in an ETP funding amount of $133,400 with the notion that their post-retention contractual wage for job number 2 will increase and match that stated of job number 1 from $18.54 an hour to $22.66 an hour.
Second.
Very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good morning, panel members. Next, we have tab 9, a proposal from O'Neill Beverages Company, LLC, DBA O'Neill Venters and Distillers. They are a repeat contractor requesting $186,392 to train 268 workers, including 30 new employees. Training will take place at O'Neill Beverages locations in Parlier, Lake Spur, and Paso Robles. A representative from O'Neill Beverages is present to answer any questions.
Good morning. My name is Emily Rudder. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for O'Neill Vintners and Distillers. We thank you for reviewing our proposal today, and we have appreciated the support received previously through ETP. Our last contract really helped us in accomplishing many of our initiatives set forth in the training objectives and enabled us to go above and beyond standard job skills training for our employees and towards their continued development as stewards of our industry. Some of the examples of our accomplishments this past contract cycle included the successful attainment of all certifications and accreditations for BRC, HACCP, CSWA, and CCOF. We added CCOF and regenerative organic certifications for our Paso Robles Winery and Vineyards. We've also attained B Corp certification and True Zero Waste certification as a company based on sustainability initiatives, employee initiatives, including alignment with living wages, community outreach, and many other areas that fall under sustainability. This has resulted in promotions into new roles for our existing employees. All are related to the ETP training our employees perform. Additionally, employee equipment-based training and testing has resulted in promotions of approximately 10 to 15 employees per year. And time spent working on our new ERP implementation has resulted in additional information technology training that will subsequently shift a number of positions in the winery from clerical to more value-added information system roles, also increasing pay rates. This will impact between 10 to 15 roles. Our ERP, as you saw in our proposal, is anticipated to go live in first quarter of 2024. Couple of further notes: successful integration of our new packaging line has resulted in additional equipment operator roles. Packaging line operators and related warehousing positions are now offering higher operator and forklift driver wages. Only employees that receive specialized training are eligible for those roles. And this has also increased our existing lines of business, requiring increased technical experience from equipment operators, laboratory personnel, quality assurance and control, as well as generally demands higher wages due to technical experience requirements. We really value and appreciate our partnership with ETP and look forward to building upon this program. I am available for any questions at this time.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions? Go ahead.
I'm just looking under your prior contract, and it shows a pretty significant lack of payment earned, only at 66%. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to elaborate on how things are different now and how you're aiming to get 100%, because we like A+, not D-.
And we fully anticipated that question, so thank you for asking that. The situation is substantially different. So I joined O'Neill early this year, and we had an entire turnover of our HR team. So I was given the opportunity to build a new HR staff, and subsequently, our incredible operations leaders stepped in to fulfill the gap and to ensure that we could bring this program to the finish line. And when I say it was all hands on deck, it was all hands on deck. And every member of our team understands the value that this program brings to each of our employees. Moving forward, there's obviously an immense amount of interest and commitment set forth by way of organizational initiatives to ensure that this is prioritized. And we have action plans in place to ensure we reach a higher completion rate from the 66% last cycle. So we're excited about it. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this program.
Excellent. A follow-up question pertaining to wages. I'm noting here, you have 4 different job categories. So I'm noting here, at least I like to share my preference, that the post-retention contractual wage of job number 4 be raised to match that of job number 2. So you've got a job creation initiative in job number 4, where your post-contractual wage is $18.54, and then you have a retrainee priority rate in job number 2. These are without the ones without the HUA at $22.66. Would you be comfortable with that? Right, for your 5 new employees, raising their wages for after they've received their training, and their post-contractual wage should be increased to $22.66.
And we do. Yes, we
Thank you.
can. So, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions from the panel?
Just a question about, I know it's unusual to lose a whole HR department. Very unusual. But in the future, do you have plans for cross-training and backup so that you can keep the engine running?
Yes. That's also a great question. And that was the contingency planning mode we immediately stepped into. We have, I would say the cross-training looks pretty clearly as operations leaders understand how this program ran, and they actually taught us how that worked. So we have an incredible HR team. We're all well-versed now in this process. We also have the support from our consultant, Mike Sneed, to support us through the cycle. But I would say there's an enhanced familiarity with how this works given the circumstance from last year. So we will not be in that situation again. And additionally, part of the new design of our HR structure was to create a role for a total rewards human resources manager position to ensure we can continually evaluate our wages in alignment with, again, our B Corp certification and living wages as well. So under review.
Thank you. Any further questions? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve O'Neill Beverages Company LLC in an ETP funding amount of $186,392 with the notation that their post-retention contractual wage for job number 4 will increase and match that listed in job number 2 from $18.54 an hour to $22.66 an hour.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? I actually abstain from this one. But the motion is adopted. Thank you.
Panel members, please turn to tab 14, which is for Snack King LLC. They are a first-time contractor requesting $153,640 to train 147 retrainees and 20 job creation trainees located in LA County. A company representative is here to answer any of your questions.
Good morning. My name is Christine Gonzalez. I am the Vice President of Human Resources for Snack King. I've been there 14 years. I've been in human resources for 40 years, all in manufacturing and production. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I have a question around your temp to perm model that you're using. So I see we have a job creation here in job 2 for 20 new hires on this contract. And you talk about using a temp to perm and then bringing them on and utilizing there. As we look at this, how many people are you bringing through temp and how many are converting to permanent? Or is it more of a temporary workforce with the odd one being into the permanent roles? I just wanted to understand that model a bit more.
So we hire temp to perm. Obviously, they start at very low positions, and then with the hopes of them jumping into the higher skilled roles. So we're going to convert 20 now. We've converted 37 over the last year, and I'm looking at increasing 33 new jobs because I found out after our application that we're actually opening a new line. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, how long do they tend to spend in that temp position before they become permanent?
In the higher skilled roles, around 6 months.
About 6 months through the growth. Okay. The only other thing, and I just say it adds a layer of complexity to temp to perm when managing a contract because you're looking at when do they temp, when did they perm, when do you start? I just want you to be aware of the amount of work. I'm just being very transparent because having, in prior lives managed contracts, seeing the amount of admin that has to be done, just to be aware of that as you go forward, just to kind of be on top of it. That's my only guidance. It's a busy process, especially with that model. So I just caution you on that, whether there's a other new hire that is more suited than temp to perm from an administration, you heard audit, just to be aware of that as you go forward with the contract.
I understand.
Any other questions? No. Thank you. So do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Snack King LLC and an ETP funding amount of $153,640.
Second.
Very much.
Thank you. So any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
All right, moving forward, we can move to our single employer tab, starting with tab number 16, which is for Appfolio Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $424,166 to train 690 retrainees and 289 job creation trainees located in Santa Barbara and San Diego counties. A company representative is present to address any panel member questions.
My name is Stephanie Young. I'm the Director of Talent Development at Appfolio Inc., headquartered in.
Can I just stop you? Can everyone hear? Yep. A bit closer, yeah. And it's still very quiet. I'm like seeing, it just still sounds very quiet. No, it's still really, really quiet. We're having a technology day.
Third time's a charm. Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, panel. My name is Stephanie Young. I'm the Director of Talent Development at Appfolio Inc. We're headquartered in Goleta, Santa Barbara area, as Ryan just mentioned. In my role there, my responsibility includes learning and development, talent management, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, all as one cross-functional team delivering our organization. We really, truly appreciate the panel's prior support on our prior contracts and the impact that this has had on our ability to strengthen and expand our learning and development offerings for our folks. I'd like to thank Ryan and Jella for their support in bringing this proposal forward. And we are grateful to be presenting our proposal to you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to take a moment because we're actually down on panel members by 2. So technically, we may need to take a moment until we come back to ensure we have a quorum. I've lost 2, which means we will not, correct, Mike?
You are correct.
Okay, just wanted to check because I'm like looking at this going, I've lost 2 of them. We need to
just
control
saw
them, Gretchen.
2 left too, so we were thinking the same thing. If
Yeah,
we could
so as
maybe
soon as one comes
pause
back.
until at least one comes
Okay.
back.
I don't want to go and chase them. I feel like, Mom, you're going to go and chase them.
Madam Chair, maybe we just take a 10 or a 15-minute
Yeah,
break.
let's be back for 11 o'clock. That way we'll be good. We'll take to 11. Let's just have that quick 11 and then we'll come back.
Why do people keep like?
Again, my clocks are different. It hurts my head. All righty. Are we still recording? Yep, we're good. All right. So I am going to ask, as we were short on panel members, we're back to having a quorum, just to repeat the introduction for us. And I think we may have a microphone that's working as well, so everyone can hear.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Hello again. Hello, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, panel. My name is Stephanie Young. I'm the Director of Talent Development at Appfolio Inc. We are based in Santa Barbara. In my responsibilities, I head up our learning and development, talent management, and diversity, equity, and inclusion teams, and the training that goes along with all of those functions. We sincerely appreciate the panel's prior support in our previous contracts and the impact that that's had on our ability to continue to expand access and evolve and up-level our trainings internally. Also want to thank Ryan Swire and Jella for their support in developing our current contract, and just excited and grateful for the time this morning to discuss our current proposal and hear and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if any panel members have any questions.
I do.
Yes.
Your panel packet has me asking about my life choices and career choices pertaining to the wages that are stated here and why I didn't choose Appfolio, perhaps. But I am one of the strongest proponent of higher wages.
Yes.
But I struggle with this one at this point because now I'm asking myself, how high is too high of a wage when we're looking at finite resources that are being able to spread to more workers to increase their wages? So are you using this training proposal to train C-suite executives?
No, ma'am, we're not. So
Okay.
as according to the rules and regulations, right? No one.
Right, you're not supposed to. Okay, so I'm just noting the wages and how high they are with maximum amount of 216 an hour. And I'm struggling with how to share these dollars more broadly. And would you be comfortable in including in your training proposal only those employees that are making up to $96 per hour?
I'd have to look at where that goes. I have the numbers with you. If you give me just 30 seconds to look at our expanded wage chart.
Sure.
My question has to do with sort of engineers and so forth and the training that they require and where their wages are. So if it's okay, I can ask the panel for just one moment to see that specifically with it.
Just so the audience is aware, we see a very significant wage range. It's a tongue twister. I'm going to try to get that out as many times as I can. Between the mid to low 20s up to $216 an hour. So
226.
I'm sorry, 226. So I didn't
You
highlight
missed
that
that
one. I
one,
missed
yeah.
that one. Again, what am I doing in life?
I know, I was the same.
Gretchen, while Christine is looking for that, I was just wondering if we could have legal weigh in on this, just because we've never had a wage maximum
Yeah,
as
we've
far
never
as I
had.
can, as far as I know.
Mhm.
So Mac, I don't know if you have any information about that or.
That'd be helpful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
He's now got to find where he was in the tab. He was multitasking.
I
I'll
was
call him out.
multitasking, my
I'll call him
apologies.
out.
But no, Ryan's correct. I'm not aware of an actual cap to it.
Mhm.
That being said, though, when you look at our legislation, it talks about the creation. Let me pull out the language real quick. There is language in our, in section 10-200 that talks about fostering creation of high wage positions. And query whether or not, if it's already existing, are we actually spending funds and monies to actually create a high wage position, since we already have a high wage?
I think where I would lean based on that is when you look at, I'm going to use customer support staff as an example. The wages range from 22.85 right up to 138.82. And so for me, I think it's like, how do we switch the pendulum away from the higher wage and focus your numbers on those in the lower wages? So to like Gretchen's point of, could it be we reduce the number that are in that higher range, keep it at the $90 maximum, but focus your efforts on those under $90. Not saying you can't use the higher wage, but focus it back to the purpose of what we say here at ETP is about fostering that high wage culture and getting people on that track through the training. Would that be a fair statement?
And that also falls into the discretion of the panel too. I mean, these training proposals come up and you're here to vote yes or no as to whether or not it meets what is in our enabling legislation. And if you're looking at this proposal and you're thinking, you know, perhaps it doesn't meet what we're supposed to be doing, because it does talk about the panel shall be awarding projects in this regard. So.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's fine. So, you know, at Appfolio, we pride ourselves on being an employer of choice, a place where careers are made, a place where you can live sustainably in a state as expensive as ours, right? Grow a family, build your life here. We have invested deeply in growing people. And while I understand and am deeply committed myself to junior employees coming in, learning schools, moving at a reasonable pace through our wage progression, right? Our company is very intentional about that. A number of the trainings that we provide are to our people leaders so that they are enabled and can support our junior employees moving through that. I think a number of us know that people don't often leave a company, they leave their manager, right? And so because our managers have such an outsized impact on our younger employees, we want to make sure that they have the skills, right? And we are in tech, we are in SaaS. I think most folks know ChatGPT at least, right? Large language models, right? They are upending the business. And so we are part of needing to make sure that our leaders can stay ahead, stay current, and be far enough in their learning journeys that they can support our younger employees as well.
So yeah, I want to put something on what you said there. There's a couple of things in the application that I'm going to say red flag me or just I have curiosity in. And it may help to drive sort of towards these lower end of the wages rather than the higher end of the wages. You put in there that you have 51 new managers, supervisors, and that's almost 50% of the growth. So you're saying like we are this job creation, you're bringing in 51 new managers. I look at your average hours on weighted average. You're saying you're going to bring in retrainees of 690, weighted average of 15 hours. Your new hire retrainee is 289. I'm a bit concerned about that number, but your weighted average is 28. My feeling to you would be maybe we remove these higher wages, up your hours in your lower end wages, and reduce the number of trainees on your weighted hours. We may be able to get around the wage cap there as well, this concern around we're really going to progress. But I am curious about what's driving the need for 51 new managers. If what you just said to me is it's about promoting and allowing that job creation, what's making you bring them in from outside versus internally? Because it's a large number of your projected growth as well.
Right. Thank you for the question. I think some of it is about what are the skills that we can develop internally in a reasonably time-sensitive way that will allow us to support the business. I think probably a number of you are familiar with the phrase buy, build, or borrow. Sometimes we have to buy the skills we need because it's so timely, and sometimes we have the time to build them, right? So it's a as thoughtful as a mix as we can to continue to grow people while also making sure that we are able to develop the tech and the skills internally to meet our customer needs, right? We serve our customers, we serve our internal clients and customers, and we serve our communities. And so it is about maintaining that balance to make sure we can meet the business.
You also had a couple of others. I kind of read this with all sorts of eyes. You say retention is 3%, but you had a statement in the proposal that says the training was specifically focused on creating a better learning and onboarding experience for new hires, enabling a seamless transition. Is there a challenge if your 3% is happening in their first 90 to 180 days? Is that why we're working on onboarding? When your retention is 3%, I'm not sure I'm seeing the focus of onboarding training with only 28 hours of training.
Thank you for the question. We strongly believe in better, never best. And I think we've seen a lot of organizational shifts. I think coming from the SaaS world, right? Software as a service world, MVP, right, is our kind of mantra for getting things done quickly, getting it up and running. So minimum viable product, right? I think for our onboarding, we initially got it up, we got it running. We actually still have really high survey responses for it, but we think we can do better. We actually think we can reduce time to impact. We think we can, get folks embedded in our culture even quicker. So this is not something is broken. This is how can we make it better? And we recognize that as we look at the research on engagement, everything like really hangs on that first 90 days. And we want to make sure we're doing our best, right? Leveraging all of the ongoing technology that we have internally to make sure that we are making the most out of those early days with our new employees. So,
any other questions?
I'm going to focus on my, sorry, go ahead.
Just a comment. I think you should include your executives in the training for a couple of reasons, right? They don't know everything either, and they need to be good role models, but they also could be good trainers, right? So while I agree with a focus on maybe the other folks are probably more appropriate, these management skills that you listed are appropriate for all the way to CEO.
Absolutely, sir. And we actually train a lot of them. That's just not part of our panel proposal here. We believe wholeheartedly. And one of the things that we actually really pride ourselves on is some of our core leadership development programs. Our entire C-suite is there, making sure that they're passing on knowledge, giving them that industry context. And so there's a lot of things. There's way more things that we offer that just don't fit the package of what ETP does, but it really does allow us to continue to grow, expand, and invest in those employees that you're talking about specifically.
You have a few employees that are listed at the very lower amount of the wage range. Would you be comfortable in moving those employees so that the post-retention wage is $25 an hour instead of $22.66?
Yes, ma'am. I believe though that I pulled our current wages right now for our most current pool, and I believe the lowest in our system is 24. We will absolutely make
25?
sure. Yes.
Okay. And then if you come back before us again, just take in mind what we've said today.
Absolutely. And just so that I'm clear, so just to make sure that the 25, that is the lowest that we included.
Would be your new post-retention contractual wage.
Your post-retention average, correct?
No, the bare minimum of their new post-retention contractual wage would move from $22.66 to $25.
For both job 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. I think for me as well, I'm just going to ask you to really think about your hours and your focus in your weighted averages. I think we'll get around some of these concerns from other panel members if we were looking at how do we really get to those lower ends, bringing them up, rather than saying we're going to a large percentage. Just going to say when you look at your 690 of 990 employees, bringing it from that 15 hours weighted to say maybe 400 team members, 60 hours weighted would be a better optics based on, may mean you reduce some of those higher end, but it would maybe a better optics going forward.
Happy to present that.
Not that we mind the high wages.
Okay.
And then the only other thing that I had is how different does the curriculum look over prior contracts?
It's quite different, actually. So we, pride ourselves on continuing to evolve to meet the current needs. So let's say, for example, a couple of years ago in our earlier contract, we had a program called Leader Lab, right? A number of those programs had manager development, same topics that we have on here. Most of those topics, as our organization has grown, as the skills have grown, we've actually put those core topics in what we now call managing an Appfolio, right? Because we now have a core management program. Now, Leader Lab has now elevated, we've up-leveled what's in that program to continue growing our current level of leaders to make sure they can their careers. We've also added a range of topics. So whereas before you would still see change management, right? Now we have different types of offerings that are more up-leveled. Whereas you might have taken an intro course before, we now have a half-day session that is specifically for leadership teams so that they can understand how to better set change plans and change initiatives with their teams throughout the organization and lead their people through it in a really comprehensive way.
So I would just ask future proposals, you can show that difference in your language and your curriculum.
Okay.
Because if we pull and we look, we often see the same curriculum list rewashed, not just maybe in this contract, but many other people's contracts as well. That focus just helps us when we say, hey, people are coming back on a regular basis. We're not just rinsing and repeating, as I affectionately call it. And then my last one is just about growth. You have 289 team members that we're projecting for growth.
Yes.
What's driving that, especially as you said, so far this year, we've only hired 80 year to date. It makes me nervous.
So originally we were scheduled to be here in August, and due to some technical difficulties that didn't happen. When we originally completed our application, that was in May. So the 80 was as of May at that point. So we're excited about our growth. We have released several new products. We have a new AI product called Realm X, which allows property managers to just say, what invoices are due. It's unbelievable. Scheduled to roll out for next year. We're also entered into the affordable housing space to make that easier for both tenants and property managers. So there's a lot of growth happening there. And I think, so really it's just we anticipate, I think between last year and this year, we've added something like 1,000 new customers. So we need people to support them and maintain our level of service. So that is forthcoming. And I think it really just is a timing of the number that was in the packet.
Yeah, I always worry when I see such big growth from successor contracts. So that's why I ask, and many will see this. It's just something I wonder, because it's the success of your contract saying that many, and we're not quite on that trajectory at the moment. So that's my only, watch out there for you on that piece. Thank you. Any other comments from the panel?
Motion to approve Appfolio Inc. and an ETP funding amount of $424,166 with the notion that their post-contractual wage for jobs number 1 and 2 will move to $25 an hour. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All right, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
All right, up next, please turn to tab 17, which is for Integris Inc. They are a first-time proposed contractor requesting $391,000 to train 310 retrainees and 25 job creation trainees located in San Luis Obispo County. Company representatives are present to address any panel members' questions and concerns.
Good morning. My name is Misty Epperson. I am the HR business partner for the San Luis Obispo location. I would like to thank ATP for this opportunity, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions on this proposal?
Motion to approve contract number ET 24-0220 in the amount of $391,000.
Do I hear a second? Second. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you so much.
All right, up next is tab 18, which is for Sorensen Engineering Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $298,080 to train 251 retrainees and 37 job creation trainees located in San Bernardino County. Company representatives are present to address any panel member questions.
Thank you. Good morning, panel members. I'm Angie Nett, Director of Human Resources at Sorensen Engineering.
I also have Bill Sachs of National Training Company as our consultant here with me today. We are a manufacturer in Yucaipa, California. We manufacture products to our customers' specifications, and these are high precision interconnects, if you will, electrical contacts, and primarily for space, aerospace, military applications. For example, we have parts in the Mars rovers, we have parts in satellites, rockets, missiles, our soldier wearables like the night vision goggles, their communications. We have, over the last couple of years, hired a training and development manager, continuous improvement manager. We've built a training center equipped with laptops and big screens for more training. We've developed an onboarding training plan, and we've recently developed a plan to move our more entry-level employees from a quality technician role, giving them more skills, into a production technician role, and then eventually higher level in machine technician. And we believe that we are ready to move forward with this program. We've grown in the last 5 years from 233 employees to the 510 we have today. And I realize that our turnover looks a little bit high, so I wanted to explain a little bit of that. A couple of things have happened, one being through the pandemic, a lot of our, I shouldn't say a lot, several of our employees wanted to move out of town. So that's one area, but another area is our corporate restructuring. We sold a division, and with that, some machinery, and several of the employees that specialize in that area applied, and they moved to that company as well. So they didn't actually lose a job, they just moved to another one. And that should finish up, that project should finish up by year end. So I anticipate that that turnover rate will continue to drop. Let's see. We also want to make sure that we train our employees for our certifications that we have. We have a few of them, AS 9100 and aerospace certification. And we have some accreditations, NADCAP accreditations, and we want to make sure that our more entry-level employees are trained to all of those specifications. And let's see if there was anything else. We believe that we are ready and appreciate your consideration for this program. Thank you. Oh, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Similar to the questions I've asked of the previous applicants, for your job creation, job number 2, would you be willing to move your post-contractual wage from 1854 to the same wages listed in job number 1, 2266?
Yes, actually, we were planning on doing that.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
That might have been some prep.
If anybody else would just like to announce that, that would be great.
I'm sitting here writing notes. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
So you said something about turnover, and some of it, I just want to make sure the number we have is accurate. So the number, from one of the things that you were saying, it doesn't sound like those going to another entity of yourselves, whether it's, you know, that program, is regrettable turn. Is the 15% that we have on file just regrettable turn, or is it complete turnover?
What do you mean by regrettable?
So there is a measure of, we have it on staff, don't we, correct, that we use a regrettable turnover figure rather than complete turnover figure when we're calculating, correct? Can you guys define the difference? Because I kind of know, but I want to make sure I'm using the right definition. I'm looking at Callan and team, because I know there is, because I know I asked this question.
HR person
Yeah, and I know every organization is different with how they measure regrettable versus not. So sometimes it's like, hey, they're leaving because of X, Y, and Z, and others are they were stupid and did something silly. So I'm just wondering how we define it, because part of me thinks maybe your number might be lower because they went somewhere else. They were coming, they're not regrettable, they stayed with on a project. Does that make sense? So it may not be as high as 15%.
That is our total number.
So that's your
So it's
total
both
turnover.
Voluntary and involuntary
Okay,
turnover.
so that is probably,
And because they went to another entity, they actually were released and rehired at that entity.
but you wouldn't see it in a lot of HRIs. That's not regrettable. That's why I was like, it's a high number, 15%, but I wouldn't call that regrettable. They went to a sister company.
Yes.
They're still employed. They're
Yes.
working for us still, but in a sister entity, that kind of grayness. We have very much the same with us. We have people moving between different plants or different locations and they're not classed or different organizations and they're not classed as regrettable.
Right.
Because we're
They're-
still staying as talent. Is that right? Is the definition, Kellen? I can see you looking up, or Mike.
On the ETP application, they don't ask for or voluntary terms. So that's why you see the lower amount. So it sounds like this company just used their total turnover.
Their total
rate,
rather
which
than
makes it
not,
to
yeah. So
15.
usually we ask for just the voluntary versus we usually ask for involuntary, correct? Rather than voluntary. Okay.
Yes, yes, Chairperson. What we have is what we include in the turnover rate, which is quits, involuntary, layoffs exceeding 30 days, discharges with or without cause. And we have a different list of what we consider to exclude, which includes
thought we did.
retirements.
So that 15% is actually lower really when you
So,
base on ETP criteria. Okay.
We could recalculate if you need that number.
No, I just see 15% and I was going to ask the question because I'm like, that seems high, but what you said doesn't seem to mirror that. So that's what just wanted to make sure.
I'll remember that.
Okay, any further questions from the panel?
Motion to approve Sorensen Engineering, Inc. in an ETP funding amount of $298,080 with the notion that they will move their contractual post-retention wage for job number 2 up to $22.66 an hour.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? All right, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, up next is tab number 19, which is for Super Center Concepts, Inc., DBA Superior Grocers. They are a first-time proposed contractor requesting $394,965 to train 375 retrainees and 135 job creations located statewide. Superior is requesting wage modifications from the 41.20 set per hour wage to 17.02 per hour in job number 2 for set HUA, and from 18.54 per hour to 17.01 per hour in job number 3 for job creation HUA. Company representatives are present to address any panel member questions.
Good morning, panel members. First of all, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be here, for me to be here. It is an honor to be here. I'm really excited to present this proposition proposal and also to talk about Superior Grocers. Here with me is Shannon Bailey, our Training and Development Manager. And we have Bill from National Foundation too. Let me talk a little bit about our company, Superior Grocers, because it excites me when I talk about our company and the recent growth that we've had, and part of the reason that we are here today. Currently, we have 70 stores. We recently had an acquisition of about 20 stores for about like 1,500 employees in the last year and a half, which is really exciting. We are continuing our growth plan. As a matter of fact, next week in Victorville, we're going to be opening a store. Each time we open a store, we hire around 130 employees, approximately, new jobs, new positions. We don't only just hire new positions, we also then, as we hire people, promote people, which is one position that I want to talk about briefly, is the meat cutter program that we have, which is, once again, it excites me because it changes people's lives, in my opinion, because you have people that are making $17 an hour. We were talking about wages, I know, and it's true. They're making $17 an hour, and this program and the meat cutter position allows them to be a meat cutter and go from like $17 an hour to like $24, $25 an hour within a period of, year and a half. I mean, to me, that's, a great accomplishment, which brings me personally, joy, excitement, when I talk to those individuals and they have this opportunity. I think it's life-changing. So I'm really excited about that. At this point, I would like to say, if there's any questions that you may have that I may answer, let me know.
Any questions? She's going, oh, I'm going to start. I can see that face. I'm going to answer. I got one on turnover. So again, I just want to make sure the turnover rate, we're in job creation mode. I know retail has a high turnover rate, but at 17%, what are we doing to try and combat that? So as we're opening new stores, we're growing. I understand it. Work for an organization that goes through rapid change, rapid growth, rapid acquisitions. It's a scary world sometimes, lots of change. But when you look at that percentage of turnover, what are you guys doing to help when onboarding people, keeping people? Where is the turnover in a certain role, or is it more elsewhere? I'm just curious, as we're growing to, at the speed we are, looking at 170 new employees as well, it always makes me a bit nervous.
So what we're doing, I forgot to mention actually earlier, we are also, as we're looking to grow, we want to be at about 100 stores, which means adding another about, I would say 3,000 employees within the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, your assistance in funding our training is so essential, because to me, the key, even to the turnover, is offering these opportunities, like I mentioned, like the meat cutters, also like bakers, because as we bring people in and give them those opportunities, instead of, just being standstill at $17 an hour, now I'm making $25 an hour, $24 an hour, $26 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's going to go ahead. Not only is going to retain those employees, but it's going to retain other employees that see that and see the opportunities and say, wow, that's where I want to be. I want to have that training. I want to have that opportunity. And as we continue to grow, those opportunities will continue to be there. But we do need, your funding is essential to us, because even though we'll continue to have these programs, your funding will enable us to do it much quicker, much more efficient.
Yeah, I just always concerned when I see high turnover, fairly high job creation number. I would ask you to think about what's happening with my turnover and how do I potentially use the training program to try and help people to retain. You can't stop people running to other jobs, but it's a world that's happening, but how you use it to help retain, because 135 new jobs and 17% is a bit uncomfortable.
Sometimes people will stay if they're paid more.
Exactly, of the progression. So that's just my, question on that one.
I agree.
Yeah. The only one I had is around your meat cutters and some of the others with a productive lab component. Help me understand. So if I come in as a meat cutter, level 1, and I'm progressing to level 2 meat cutter or level 3, what really am I doing differently in those roles as that productive lab component? I'm not as worried about like the theory and I'm putting people into supervisory. I'm more concerned about that productive lab element.
And safety.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. And cutter safety is a big topic. Totally agree with you on that, Ms. Newsom. So what happens here is the way the program works is really on the job training. The key and the reason why we need these funds is to help us to enable it, because there's certain things you could teach on the computer, certain things, and it's great, but that cannot replace that one-on-one, this meat manager, this trainer, this meat specialist saying, okay, Enrique, this is how we do this. This is how you need to be safe. This cut needs to be done forward, not on the side, because it's more dangerous. So all of that, it's really what the key essentials are, and you can't replace that. To me, that's where these funds come in, is to be able to do more on the job training in that moment, right there at the stores.
So how does that progress in meat cutter? I totally get on a new hire, a productive lab on a incumbent worker on job group 1 or 2, on the job group 1 ones. How does that progress them, that productive lab element? I totally get the initial. I'm not sure I'm seeing how it improves their skills to go to a higher wage.
Oh, we'll be certain.
Does that make sense?
Hi, Bill with National Training. Basically, they have a 6-month meat cutter training program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you take somebody who could be out of high school. At the end of that, after 6 months, they call it an apprenticeship program, but it's obviously not a real apprenticeship program. But they call it an apprenticeship program.
There is one out there.
So they have one for meat cutters, one for bakers, and one for cake decorators.
So it's like a toll gate stage. It's like a toll gate stage you've done X, now you go to Y and you're doing further skills. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's like different cuts, right? You don't learn one thing one at a time, because obviously some cuts are more dangerous than others to the concern, to the safety concern. So it has to go in stages, and as you go into stages, you're like, okay, now you moved on, you're able to do this.
So you may have trainees that are internal at the moment who are going through that, who will fall under this funding.
Correct.
And there is actually a meat cutters apprenticeship program under UFCW. If you're curious to look for it, there is one out there that is actually a true apprenticeship, but I think it's longer than 6 months. But We have funded, yes, we have.
But
yeah.
I would encourage you to look into that program too, because if you come back to us, the questions I'm going to ask you are, what are the certifications that these trainees are receiving so that they can progress in their career? Hopefully they do stay with you. We lower the turnover rate, but if they don't, what have they earned and been taught that they can carry with them forward? And you have evidence of that with that specific apprenticeship program, like a certificate that they've graduated from it, they've reached the different levels. I'd like to see more of that in future iterations of this. Yeah. I'd also like to see you increase your wages. Would you like to do that now?
Yes.
Yes, you would. I thought so. Perfect. Okay. I was taking a look at your different tiers of where you're paying them. I feel most comfortable with that second tier, starting out at 20 an hour. So,
Agreed, yes.
Thank you. I was put on a meat cutting station at 14. It was not a pretty picture. So I applaud you in having the one-to-one training, maintaining that. Please do that. Thank you. And no child labor.
Yes, definitely
You're
not.
a great image of that one, aren't you? All righty. Any further questions?
One other question or
Go ahead,
comment.
Mike.
As you're growing, you're going to be a bigger company, right?
Correct.
I would suggest that you consider job structure. So perhaps different levels of meat cutter, like A, B, C or something like that, so that it's obvious that people are being promoted and they're increasing their wages. So not just from 6 months training to meat cutter master or whatever, but build in a structure so people know that they can grow their career there.
Thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Thank you. Any other comments? What do I hear? A motion?
Motion to approve Supercenter Concepts DBA Superior Grocers and an ETP funding amount of $349,965 with the contingent that they are moving the post-retention wage, contractual wage for jobs number 2 and 3 from 1701/1702 to $20 an hour.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
If you'd please turn to tab number 20, Newman Replacement Windows, Inc. This will be Newman Replacement Windows' first ETP project. Newman Replacement Windows is requesting $201,250 in total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 125 retrainees over 2 job numbers. This training project will focus on increasing efficiency with training related to new equipment, processes, protocols, and reporting requirements. Representatives from Newman Replacement Windows are here today to address questions from the panel.
Hello, my name is Duncan Newman. I'm the founder and owner, CEO of Newman Replacement Windows. We've been in business for 30 years and very happy to be here. But I do have a question for you, Rebecca. I'm
Yes.
from England originally, in Bath. Where are you from?
Very close to Bath. I'm a Somerset girl by heart.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm a Taunton girl pretty much, but yeah, I'm a Somerset girl.
Thank you. And Jill is here with me. I think you guys know her.
Jill, what have you done? I've just got to ask. I thought I saw you in a chair and I was like, yeah, she's.
I fell off a ladder trying to play exterminator, which was pretty stupid.
I'm just going to say safety. That's all I'm going to say. We'll get you through some OSHA's ladder safety training. Yeah. It's always a good story, but not a good story. All right. Any questions?
If you could elaborate for me about wage progression of your workforce. So they come in,
Absolutely.
they're going to receive this training. How soon can they expect their wages to progress upwards?
Very quickly. So what we found 30 years ago, I could hire people that had experience. Due to the transition of life, young people don't seem to want to get into the trades quite as rapidly as they did 30, 40, 50 years ago. So we're finding that most of the people that we're finding in the installation department have no skills whatsoever. So we can take a new person that comes in, it starts at $18 an hour, and within 3 months, they can get to a level 1 installer. 3 months after that, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. Level 4 and 5 take longer. You can't do those in 3 months. They take a year to 2. But in the first 3 months, they can go from $18 to $20 an hour. The second 3 months, they can go from 20 to 22. Third 3 months. So you can go from $18 to $25 an hour within the first year.
Are any of these curriculum that you're training on provided by apprenticeship programs, or is that an avenue for you to look into for the future?
There isn't one that I'm aware of.
I'm
I've
not
looked.
aware of one either. I'm familiar with elevators,
I'm trying to
and
create my own.
boilermakers.
So
Aha.
we have created within our 25,000 square foot warehouse, we've built our own training facility with my money to enable us to do that, because the on-the-job training, it was so funny. I met a lady in the lobby that was here from San Diego, and she said, you were at my house, not you, but your employees were at my house on Tuesday installing windows. And we had one of our newest guys, Jose, who had literally started the week before, was being trained by Nikolai, our Russian installer. And he had no skills whatsoever. But the on-the-job training is in people's houses. And it's a little scary. If you're a homeowner in your home during the day watching someone that says to you, I started 3 days ago, they get watched a lot, like a hawk. I'd like to be able to spend at least a week with people that are not making us any money, because if they're not installing windows, they're not making any money, to be able to put them through a training facility where they can practice with a screw gun, a level caulking gun, all of the expandable foam and all that on a dummy situation that doesn't affect any of your lives.
Right. And then further on the job training in people's
Constant.
homes, they are also being supervised by kind of a master window
Absolutely,
installer.
yeah. Every job, we have a lead installer and an assistant who is in training. And then we have lead installers who are not at level 4 and level 5 that then get put with level 4 and level 5 installers and their project managers to teach them additional skills. Like, anybody can install a window after 6 months, but you can't install an entry door. That's an entire different skill. So there are lots of those that you probably don't want to hear all about.
So you just said something, I think you're going to go to the same place. When we look at the hours that you're wanting funded, I am not hearing or seeing in the contract anything about productive lab, but we're hearing they go out to the job, they're being trained on the job. That is technically on a paid job. So it is technically productive lab rather than classroom training. You have your classroom training component.
We do now. We haven't had that in the past.
So when you're submitting rosters for an installer who is a new hire, are you only submitting for classroom time, or are you also for when they're on the job? Because I think we probably need a productive lab component in here, if that is what's happening. It's not a problem. I just want to make sure we're clear. And
We submitted it for classroom training, mostly because of all of the hassle with productive lab, like,
that's why I'm pulling
right?
it, yeah.
So there's so much training that needs to be done. He also talked about that week long of training in his, in his training lab and all that. So I think we can do this through classroom training as a first-time contractor.
Appreciate
And I
that.
think that's
Just want to make sure we're very transparent on that piece, because I totally get it. But I know the understanding of productive lab is super important for things like that.
But I commend him for doing just exactly what you're doing and what you're proposing. So that's really good. I did take I had to turn my head and take a second look. You've listed vet technicians. It's not veterinary technicians,
No, it's
but
not.
you're hiring 5 new veterans, and I applaud you. on
I'd
that,
like
so
to hire
thank you.
50. I've been working with SkillBridge for 2 years, and it is most frustrating. Call me, we've got jobs.
There you go.
It has been so slow, but I'm available for vets that come out that don't have skills in the places they'd like to go. We'd love to hire more.
Excellent. Thank you.
You also, I want to make sure, I heard a wage mentioned, and it's not in the wage tables. So I'm hoping this is being missed and it's not going to be the ones you're funding, because you said something about they start at $18 an hour and progress up. I do not see that in any of the wages. So I want to make sure they're not the ones you're coming in for funding. Just because you gave that great example, I just want to make sure.
We agreed to the post-retention wage at $26.91.
Fantastic. Just wanted to check, because I heard that. My only other piece, and it is you are on a huge growth trajectory. And I just want to make sure you'll be successful at that, because we look like we're training pretty much most of the employees on obviously upskilling, by the sounds of it, training programs. I didn't see that in the application, but I appreciate the commentary. So that helped, because that was one of my questions. But secondly, looking at that 10% turnover, I know it's hard, and then 53 new hires, just getting a better idea of how you want to focus on that turnover whilst keeping these new jobs coming in and growth happening.
So I invested $60,000 last year to put all of my executives through a program called Scaling Up. And humbly, I can tell you, after being in business for 30 years, I didn't have any corporate training like some of the bigger companies I've heard today. And there were parts of scaling my company that I didn't understand or know how to do. We've just spent a year going through that. And now we're aggressively trying to expand our Orange County store, which has 5 employees. You know, we've got 60, 70 people in San Diego, and I want to make Orange County as big as San Diego. I've just hired a general manager who starts in about a week. We've hired a sales manager for our San Diego location. We've never had a sales manager. So we're hoping to scale up quickly.
I'm hoping on aggressive growth.
Motion to approve Newman Replacement Windows, Inc., contract number ET 24-0219, in the amount of $201,250.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You please turn to tab number 21, Sherwood Mechanical, Inc. This would be Sherwood Mechanical, Inc.'s first ETP project. Sherwood Mechanical is requesting $294,975 total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 225 retrainees over 2 job numbers. Sherwood Mechanical's headquarters is in San Diego, California. This training project will focus on training field staff on the skills necessary to provide construction services that are sustainable, water efficient, and energy efficient, while also upskilling to be able to integrate innovation and design. Sherman Mechanical is requesting productive lab training for approximately 146 trainees in this project, where they may receive between 0 to 20 hours productive lab training. This amount of productive lab equates to approximately 35% of the individual trainees' weighted average hours of training. Representatives from Sherwood Mechanical are here today to address questions from the panel.
Good morning still. It's 11:45. Anyway, my name is Mitch Roberts. I'm the president of Sherwood Mechanical, and Jose Martinez is here. He's our training and safety director. And of course, you know Bill. He's our good consultant. Sherwood Mechanical is a plumbing company only, and we focus in Southern California. We do a lot of pre-construction services, design. We do construction. We do service warranty kind of work mostly in San Diego area. A notable project that we're getting started on in a month is Hotel Del Victorian building. It was built in 1888. And they're going to shut that thing down January 1, which is the first time in 135 years. So we're actually gearing up to start that project, January 1. And it's that particular project has 400 rooms. Back in 1888, they only had 71 rooms with plumbing. And now they have 400, but they're going to have new plumbing. And then the other neat fact about that job is that was one of the first large hotel buildings in the country that had electricity. So it's going to be really fun to watch that thing get kind of peeled apart and see all the old stuff. We are part of ABC. So we do belong to the ABC apprenticeship program, and we do sponsor apprenticeships program. We have 3 to 4 people that are in that currently. Any questions for me?
One question for me. It says you have 160 employees in California
Yes.
on the application, and then you're going to train 175 on job 1.
Yes.
But how does that match?
Let me answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
The math doesn't add up. Okay.
No.
So originally we had job 1, 2, 3. 3 was going to be our a veterans component, a veterans track. We were asked to bring that up, just take those guys and bring them into job 1 rather than make them job creation. So, if it feels better for you, we could bring the 175 down to 160, if that's.
Well, are
That
they
was
employees?
That was the logic, where the logic came from on that.
Are they employees?
Pardon me?
Are they employees? These other people that you're adding?
Oh, the 15, the 15 Delta, Those are
Mhm.
going to be new hires,
Oh.
but they're
I see.
not job creation new hires.
Oh, I see. I don't know, if
Wages are up at $30 an hour. They're a different population.
Rebecca, is that an issue with it?
I'm thinking that feels really strange. I'm actually looking at staff on this as to why we would have done this, because I would have thought the wages and the hours of training and all those pieces, why we would have bulked them as a job creation in job group 1 rather than putting them in job group 2 as job creation.
Yeah, there was a discrepancy in the headcount in the California employees compared to job 1 that wasn't updated earlier before that proposal was developed and posted on the panel agenda.
So the correct estimated number of trainees then in job group 1 is how many are we expecting?
We're at 175.
Which is over the number of California employees at the moment.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. We can bring that down to 160, the California employees, if you want us.
Yeah, I think that sounds a better, cleaner way of doing it than putting a job creation
Mhm.
in a non-job creation category. I don't know. I'm looking at audit
be
and
the
fiscal here going, my head is
Traditional way
hurting.
of
So I think we,
the max of job 1 being equal to the full-time employees listed on the proposal.
Okay. So we can clean that up.
we can clean that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does Mike have any more questions? Okay. I did have some questions. You mentioned them and then they're included in your proposal, apprentices, laborers, plumbers, pipe fitters, and you list 20 of them, but you just mentioned now that you only have 3 or 4 apprentices. So what is it?
No, I have craft trainees as well.
Craft trainees, so not apprentices.
They're not indentured into the California State Apprenticeship.
Okay, got it. Please give my best to Shandon Harbor at the ABC. I do like her a lot. But this kind of brings up an issue for me as to the possibility of dual enrollment. So if you are claiming apprentices through her program, then she can't have them through her contract with us for the ABC. So I'm like we don't list the apprentices here because they're already receiving that training through ABC over there.
I spoke with Shannon.
Okay.
Shannon this week. So
okay, so
we are
we're
not overlapping.
We're going to remove apprentices from this contract. Okay, got it.
Because technically, wouldn't concurrent enrollment hit there anyway if everyone's up to date with their record keeping?
Should be up
Should
to date,
be if
but
everyone's
you
up
get
to date.
into a race
I
of
know.
whom uploaded the
Who
first
it's like the
social
insurance
security
billing.
number,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then they
insurance
get them.
billing when you
Yeah.
have that piece. So that's why we're asking, because we're making sure it doesn't
Exactly.
cross over and double dip. Yeah.
You've seen me, my line of questioning in previous iterations with previous contractors. I do take grave issue with the much lower wages stated under job creation. I'd really like to see those move up to the contractual wages listed in job number 1. I know the construction industry well in San Diego, and $18.54 an hour is not cutting it. And so you've listed under job number 1, $30.90 an hour.
Could you?
And you're using medical coverage of $250 to meet that post-retention wage. So it's really the post-retention contractual wage of $30.90 is what's I'm more comfortable with.
Okay, if I can address that one. So
Please
you
do.
basically have your new hires
Mhm.
versus a guy that's been there 30 years.
It's just too low for me, Bob, and
Would you
like you're
feel-
building prevailing wage public works projects too, it looks like. So I'm like, there's a wage concept and gap here that I'm not comfortable with.
Okay.
Because it's looking optically like you might be moving the workforce from private work wages to public works and back and forth, and that creates a real issue for those workers.
Yeah, we do not overlap those individuals. They're higher
They
skilled.
stay.
They stay on the prevailing wage.
Okay.
The other thing is that 20% of their work is prevailing, 80% is private. So this allows them to do the private.
Okay. It's still too low for me. 1854 is way too low for construction workforce in San Diego.
So what if we came up to $20 an hour for the laborers, somebody just out of high school?
I would still say that's still too low in construction.
$21 an hour.
Well, again, these are people that are coming from out of high school. These are people that have no skills, and they'll have to go through our craft trainee
I know.
programs. And
I'm thinking
they
of my
will.
son too, of
What's that?
like, I'm thinking of my son in his first job. I'd want him to be up over like $21 an hour bare minimum and then be able to work his way up there.
I guess I look at it from you're pulling ABC apprentices as well versus your in-house training program. I look at your job creation, it kind of links here. You look at your job creation, we're looking at, I think it's 56 new hires. That's a large percentage. And we're talking wages here. Is there a reason we're not pulling from the ABC population? I know the union, but that 56% or 56 new head count, and we're talking wages, ABC apprentices versus in-house field staff, laborers. Is there a reason we're not going one versus the other, or we bring them in just for income, like job group 1 versus 2? Because I do worry you're fighting against that apprenticeship program for labor, because that's one of those things. If I was looking at it as a parent or even as a worker, hey, I could go here or I could go here, and I'm going to get $18.54 potentially, or $24 as an ABC apprentice, I might run the apprentice route. So I just want to make sure you'll be successful in that growth, is just to think about, is it better to be pulling from there? I'm not going to tell you right, wrong, or indifferent, but just think about that. To Gretchen's point, as we talk about wages, you're fighting against that. And with that growth on your staff of 50, of a staff workforce of 160, that is very aggressive growth. And I just want you to be successful at thinking about that kind of perspective.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
And if we look at the job 2, job creation, the max is up around 33.
I love that
So
number.
it's the low end. So what if we went at $22 an hour? Is that doable?
That's more doable for me. Okay. There's another issue I like to raise. I'm a fellow San Diegan. I'm very familiar with many of the iconic developments in San Diego. I'm also familiar, unfortunately, with one of your previous developments in the Hilton Bayfront. What I am speaking to is the unfortunate incident of the explosion of that Hilton Bayfront property that resulted in third-degree burns of several construction members. I have not unheard those stories on the impact that it had on those construction workers. It resulted in a fine to your company. I'd like you to speak more to me today about safety practices going above and beyond what the OSHA bare minimum requirements are to ensure that your construction workforce is safe on their job site.
Okay, I can speak to that. Since that event, we all learned a lot with the industry, with SDG&E and the building codes and stuff like that. So that unfortunate event turned a lot of changes for SDG&E and for the natural gas industry. So there was some good that came out of that. I lived through it. It's my company, so I lived through all of that. But what we did after that is what we built. We built our STAR program, which is built. It's for safety, it's training, it's accountability, and all of the facets of our work, from theory to application to on-the-job training. And we built this program, and it's very complex and robust. And we've improved on our safety. We were, our mod rating was in the, hundreds. Today, we're at a 0.62. We have done everything to improve our work environment. And also, that's why we're up here, is we're already doing a lot of training, a lot of craft training. And we do it every week, every day we're doing training. So we did look very deep into our experience, and we made significant changes. And we are an industry leader after that event.
Thank you.
Any other
Yes, if
questions?
you don't mind me asking, you just made reference to San Diego Gas and Electric. And maybe I took it the wrong way, but it almost appeared that you were saying that it was more that incident in particular, which horrific incident, right? Almost as if it was more San Diego Gas and Electric had something that they had done incorrectly rather than potentially your company doing something incorrectly. Is that accurate?
There is in the natural gas industry, they actually impregnate the natural gas with a scent.
Absolutely.
And that scent is what tells you, you walk in somewhere that tells you have a problem. That's what it's for. It's very high sulfur content smell. But that phenomena is that particular project. They were at the very end of the line of that building, that trunk line, and the line became unpickled, which is a term. It became unpickled and unscented. So nobody knew that there was gas leaking inside that mechanical room at that time when my employees were in there.
So the gas leak, just for clarity, the gas leak was not San Diego Gas and Electric's fault though, correct?
No. No, it was not.
The way I understood what you said, I want to make sure that we were clear with this, that the gas leak was not their fault. It was the mechanical contractor on the job site that day, correct?
It was actually, it's not a leak. Somebody turned the valve on.
Okay.
It's a process that they were bleeding out the air to get the gas so that they could they could commission the equipment.
Yeah, thank you.
Does the panel have any other questions on this proposal?
Panel members, I do want to clarify based on the discussion about job number one and the funding amount. So the current request is for $294,975. If you wish to change the estimated number of trainees to 160 to match the current listed California employees, that would change that job number amount to $209,760. So if you wanted to keep job number two the same, you could make a motion to request, or you could make a motion to approve up to $275,310. That would be the difference with the change to job number one that you discussed earlier.
Someone get
275,310.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any further questions on this proposal? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Sherwood Mechanical Inc. in an ETP funding amount of $275,310 with the contingency that their post-retention contractual wage for job number two move from $18.54 to $22 an hour.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal?
Chair, we do have a hand up online.
Okay. And
David, go ahead.
Hello, can I be heard?
yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Good morning, panel members. My name is David Vincent, and I'm here only to represent my interests as a civic-minded taxpayer within the great state of California. I'm here to speak about my reticence allocating any sum of money to Sherwood Mechanical without first delving into the contractor's past practices and making sure that they are the best possible recipients of these limited funds. Given that these funds are rivalrous and the consumption by one party excludes those by another, I will explain from where my reticence derives here. I know that panel members Newsom and Betancourt addressed some of the concerns that I had, but I will quickly mention some others. I noticed that prevailing wages for registered labor apprentices within San Diego County at the moment begin at $21.52 an hour with a total package of $43.71. And even while these, apprentices before they graduate within 2.5 years are earning $37 an hour on the check and a total package of $53. And so I just wanted that to be noted as those rates concern me. And I know that, the previous contractor, there was the, quip made about safety and OSHA training. And I know that it was mentioned about the incident that took place some years ago. And despite, Sherwood's claims of being a leader in the space since, that I see on the OSHA establishment search that within the last 5 years, they have had other OSHA investigations and violations. I just wanted that to be noted as well. And, also within the last 5 years, I have, made a request just within the last few days at the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement in the school district in which this contractor has recently performed work. And I see a history of non-compliance and a number of unfiled reports on projects required a skilled and trained workforce. And given the contractor's application to engage in training itself, this may be among the most troublesome finding in my very quick research. As I mentioned a moment ago, I'm interested in the best possible use of these taxpayer funds, in addition to the fact that within just San Diego County, there are a number of these apprenticeship programs, and it does sound that they are committed to the ABC program. Essentially, I'll just wrap up by saying, they are a registered public works contractor. The wages for the, scope of work on the plumbing and pipe fitting side, is $86 an hour with 57 or so on the check. And that made me curious about the large delta between the prevailing wages and the promised post-retention wages I see in Sherwood's application. Lastly, in my conclusion, I just implore the panel that the application from Sherwood is either investigated further or denied at the moment, just because as a California taxpayer, I'm a little unsettled by just the comments made a moment ago and what I've seen in my quick research of this.
Thank you for the comments. Does the panel have any questions based on comments, or are we?
We have a motion, but I do have listening to the public speaking on this. Would you like to respond to any of those claims? Particularly pertaining to the supposed OSHA investigations and violations, because I just talked about the other issue and you addressed that, but it sounded like there's something more current. Is there something more current of OSHA violations?
We had a violation on a casino up at Saboba. It was the general contractor's responsibility to install the guardrails and stairwells correctly. They were done incorrectly. So everybody on the job site got the violation.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. The other allusions to not paying the proper prevailing wage at the school site that they mentioned, is that any relevance to this? Okay. And just to be clear, the workers that you're training through this program, not apprentices now, not journey level folks working on prevailing wage projects. This is a different workforce.
Yep, that's correct.
There.
Anyone else? I'm going to look at Doug. It looks like.
I guess I'm a little bit confused. So you're saying that you got a violation because the general contractor did not put up barriers where they're supposed to?
Yes.
So I'm somewhat familiar with job sites, and typically the only ones that are going to get violations, and I say typically because I know there's going to be differences that will happen at times, is if someone were maybe to take down a barricade for some reason, having to do work around it, whatever, and not replace it, that would be potentially when there would be a violation given to a certain subcontractor rather than a blanket to everyone. I'll say as it sits for right now, I don't feel comfortable going forward right now with the information that's been put forward. I would like to do more research on this and feel more comfortable to be able to give the funding out. I don't feel comfortable with it.
Rick, you look like you were going to say something.
I kind of have the same sentiments as our panel member here. It kind of, maybe we can, I don't know if it's appropriate to maybe table this and have it. We could look to council.
I believe we currently have a motion and a second to approve in accordance with that motion. So if that wants to be withdrawn and go a different direction, it's up to, what the panel would like to do.
I withdraw.
Withdraw your motion.
But now there's no motion pending.
There's no motion pending.
There could be.
Would you like to make the motion you want to make?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table this to a further meeting so that we can have staff maybe kind of look into that. That's appropriate.
That would be fine. We've done that before.
Second that. So do I have any further comment from the panel? Any further public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Who was the second on the motion to table? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one.
Okay, panel members, please turn to tab 22. This is a training proposal for Aegeus Inspection Solutions Services, Inc. This is a priority industry and not a repeat contractor. Total ETP funding being requested today is for $294,975. That is to fund an estimated number of trainees of 41 under job 1 retrainee priority rate, 30 under job 2 retrainee and an HUA, and 75 under job 3 for job creation. Training will be delivered at its locations in Ventura, Bakersfield, and Long Beach. And here today to answer any questions is the company representative.
Hi, my name is Jeff Miller. I'm the operations manager for Bakersfield, California unit. I've been in the business for about 28 years with the NDE, around ETP for since 2009. Not necessarily with the same company, but I think our first go around, we went with 50,000 requests, and Margarita kept poking at us for more because we were doing so much with our training. We're in a fickle industry. It goes up and down. We have a lot of new technology coming out lately. Computed radiography is a big thing. Digital radiography is the next. CPUC loves CR. They want to see DR. It's a lot more technical than back in my day, where it was slap a piece of film on it, shoot it, go. And that goes for the ultrasonics as well. Machines keep getting better, more technical. We're constantly sending guys to class, whether it's beginning assistants just starting or guys really moving up the level. Anyway, first time I've had to do this in 28 years. So any questions?
It's always a hard one, isn't it? We're not that scary. Any questions from the panel?
Would you be willing to move job number 3 contractual wages from 1854 up to those stated in job number 1, 2266?
If I can explain that, it usually does go to that because of the way we're driven per the code books. We have level 1s, 2s, and 3s. And the reason I would say no is because when I do that, these guys are not going to go to class. And what happens when they go to class, they test, they take their general, their specific, and their practical test. And that gets them their certification. We have never, in my time, I've never denied a certification-based raise. So when you get to the further jobs and you see those really higher wages, that's because these guys are getting other certifications. And I shy away from that just because of that reason, because I do have helpers that have been 15-year helpers and they love it. They don't want the responsibility of going up to that next level and, you know, signing their name to a legal document that if you screw up, you're going to be in front of a group of people answering questions.
I'm unfortunately not of same mind with you. I believe workers would really like to be paid more for things.
I
so
agree.
I'm more comfortable at that other level that I stated.
And tell me which one that is again, on which page is that?
It's
205?
under, it's the second page of your proposal, under job number 3 for your job creation initiative. You're essentially proposing to pay new employees much lower amount than those employees that are stated in job number 1. So I'm asking you to move the minimum post-retention wage from 1854 to 2266, as I have done for all other contracts.
You mean for just coming in starting, right? So I don't think I can do that on my own without my bosses chiming in. I really think
Would
that's
you like to
about,
table this matter so that you can go ask?
yeah,
them?
I think that would be better. Just because I really, like I said, I've been around. If we do that and you start giving it away for nothing, you won't see any movement.
Can I ask, if you're starting in at $18 an hour, for example, so my concern here is it's a very big job creation for a smallish organization, and this is where the heavy job lift is. You have them listed at $18 to $20 an hour. how long does it take me to get my first wage progression? Like how long, if I entered at 18, how long will it be till I get to 22 something an hour?
So the best examples I have, the fastest I see, get the basics, 1, 2, 3, and 4 can be there in 18 months, but you can get your first cert within 3 months and be at $21 an hour within 3 months. I don't want to give the guys names. I don't think we're supposed to give names, but prime examples, guys we've had 18 months, they're smoking it. I have guys at $43 an hour in 24 months, shooting for Sempra Energies, SDGE, SoCal, other companies, PG&E. So we really try to put it on them because it keeps the movement going.
I think that's part of your concern is like, what's their progression? So I think there's a balance of what is the right number at the entry level? Like, are we really, so I look at your application, there's a couple of things that go to me. You have a ish turnover at 12%, fairly high, fairly aggressive growth. You're 134 employees here in California. We want to bring in 75. That's aggressive for a company that size. We're having a discussion about wages. I'm hearing there's good progression, that people can progress if they do the training and they move forward. So that sounds okay. I just worry you have turnover, you have aggressive growth. I know where we're going here with wages, and just being really conscious, there's 58 in that category in the bracket you're saying of $18 to $20. If there's a way of moving the number of those maybe up to the next bracket that you have on there, it may then ultimately adjust the average to being maybe not 2266, but higher than 1854 in the post-retention. Yeah, so maybe coming back, I'm going to suggest from the conversation I'm hearing and thinking about where am I really at comfort level of entry so we can get that average retention wage slightly higher. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Absolutely. It does. I just don't think I'm the guy to make that decision here and now.
Absolutely. So what our recommendation to you would be we will table this to work with staff to, I think, Chris, are you clear?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would just interject to say these are estimates. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like to me that these 58 aren't really probably going to land in that first tier as what we're hearing today.
know.
And so I would guesstimate that like, if you're comfortable with leaving it with having a few of those come in, to his point, you know, that's just an estimate. It sounds like most of those will probably end up in the second and third tier.
It's what it
in
sounded
reality.
like.
So,
Yes.
whether we want to accept it in that sense, I mean, what they're held to is the post-retention wage. So that's where I know your kind of your concern relies around, but it sounds like this is just an estimate. So, you know,
And
I'll take it as it is.
another thing is, I'm gonna throw this out. We have at this company, 70% of our employees are plus 10-year employees. We want to pay them good. We really do.
Yeah.
And like I said, we just found out over the years, the drivers, and I actually think that might be backwards, that the 58 should be where the 10 is and the 10 should be where the 20 is.
It just affects that post-retention average wage. That's what I want to make sure is
That's
right average.
Because I'm thinking of my UT guys. We have very few like permanent fields with UT, and 10 more fits the number. I've got about 5 at Elk Hills, about 5 at Kern River, maybe 3 at Kern Oil Refinery. So I'm actually think that's transposed there.
Right. And that's what I was getting at. I think it's one of those things where if we move it up, we're cutting out potentially at the end of the contract, them having a few people just coming in starting at the 18 to 20 that might not have progressed at the end. And so we're basically just eliminating the chance of funding those folks, or like at the tail end of the contract, which, you know, is where I think his uncomfortableness. Try to be able to get those folks trained as well.
Post-contractual wage of $20 an hour.
20? I'm sorry, I'm so deaf.
Yes.
Yeah,
20.
20. So
For those, for under under.
Man, I
30.
feel like I'm on a Price is Right.
I know. You know, I have to keep it interesting.
some days.
Post-contractual, them getting that, I have no problem with 20.
Perfect.
I think I can make that call here.
Okay.
Here we
at
go.
20.
Motion to approve the Aegis Inspection Solution Services, Inc., ETP funding amount of $294,975 with the understanding that they're going to move their post-contractual wage stated in job number 3 from $18.54 an hour, $18.54 an hour to $20 an hour.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Hey.
Thank you, panel members. We're gonna move to tab 23 just for a quick moment. They're withdrawing and would like to come back at a future panel meeting, most likely December. So please turn to tab 24, which is a training proposal for Western Digital Technologies, Inc. This is a priority industry and a repeat contractor. Total ETP funding being requested today is for $303,600 to train an estimated number of trainees of 600 under job 1, retrainee priority rate. And ETP training will be delivered at its 7 California locations in Irvine, Milpitas, Newark, San Jose, Redwood City, and Roseville. This will be WDT's 6th ETP contract and 2nd in the last 5 years. And here today to answer your questions are the company representative and its subcontractor.
Ms. Chair and members of the panel, I'm Minju Kwan, User Experience Architect at Western Digital Technologies. I'd like to thank Chris Hoover and Namira Shafqat from the San Francisco field office for their valuable assistance in assisting with preparing this ETP proposal. Western Digital is a design and manufacturer of hard disk drives and flash memory. ETP funding will allow us to provide extensive critical new skills to our workforce and enable them to work efficiently to design, develop, and support our highly technical products to our customers worldwide. I want to thank the panel for considering our proposal and welcome any questions.
Any questions? No questions. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Western Digital Technologies contract ET 24-0250 for $303,600.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any public comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Tab 25 is a proposal from Advanced Integrated Pest Management. This project has withdrawn from this panel and will attend a future meeting. Moving on, next we have tab 26, a proposal from Chimino Care. They are a first-time contractor requesting $386,147 to train 266 workers, including 121 new employees. Please note there is a correction to the turnover rate to 10%. Training will take place at Chimino Care's locations in Butte, Glen, Lassen, Sacramento, San Joaquin, Sutter, Yolo, and Yuba counties. Representatives from Chimino Care are present to answer any questions.
Chairman Betancourt and committee, thank you very much for hearing and considering our proposal. My name is Mark Chimino. I'm the CEO, Chief Executive Officer and Chief Executive Caregiver at Chimino Care. And today I have with us Michelle Vietz. You want to?
Good morning. HR Director for Chimino Care for past 9 years. Been in the senior living community industry for nearly 30 years.
And Jill is with us helping us out. And she needs no introduction, I've discovered.
She's just kind of hiding down there at the moment.
Our founder, my mother, was told in the 6th grade, her teacher explained to her mother that she was wasting everyone's time at school. And so was sent home to be a seamstress and learn the caregiving trade. Many years later in this country, she founded our company. And today, proud to say that that person who was a waste of time at school now employs, nearly 400 people and providing great care to our seniors throughout Northern California. A couple of things I'd like to point out about Chimino Care is We are homegrown, Northern California. We like to say from San Francisco to Susanville and everything in between. And we have been leaders, especially of note here. And as Jill was describing this program, which we had not known about and we're really excited to partner with, is we're providing and leading out in the lower income brackets in senior care. In the assisted living field, a lot of the vast majority of the industry is private pay. And Chimino Care, most of probably 80% of our locations are embracing the emerging trend, and we're leading out in low income Medi-Cal, creating more accessibility to seniors. And hence, as our broker once told me a while ago, is you guys are trying to do the hard thing. And I was scratching my head, what do you mean? Well, it's all hard, but trying to provide good quality care in lower middle income brackets and lower income brackets and rural areas, and try to maintain the quality. So our whole mantra, starting from our mother who had no formal education, is we recognize that there's many, many people in our population who have not had the opportunity even for high school. They might even not have a GED or high school. There's a lot of leadership and human capacity that's hidden underneath this level. And we've had the pleasure of discovering talent and promoting it and building. So what we like to say is we want Chimino Care to be a fountain of human capital and talent and capability. So when we learned about this program, we were so excited because it's helping us, especially serving our lower income and our the HUAs, as you described, the HUAs, the high unemployment areas, and the low income senior population together. Plus, we're very much embracing the diversity. All of our, I would say probably 80% of our administrators have grown up through the ranks. Many have also gone on to start their own businesses. So we've been very proud about that fountain effect. So hopefully, if you have any questions about our specific proposal, that we could have a long partnership in helping lift up a lot of that human capital that's down there in the fertile ground that just needs that opportunity for growth.
Fantastic. Thank you. I totally understand the work's being done. You show a turnover of 18%, and I look at that, we're looking at a high growth as well. What are you doing because I worry when I see high growth numbers, are we just funding attrition? What is happening to help retain those team members when you onboard, bring in, especially with this culture of growth going forward, and to lower that turnover, hopefully?
First of all, we did put in for a correction on that turnover with the definition that was made clear a little while ago.
It's like 10%.
Okay, still a slight, but it's a big growth number given the field. I know it's a field. I was guessing what's causing that turnover, and how are you helping to address that with the hopes of this training program potentially to do that with your new hires?
I would say that the majority of regrettable turnover is we look at individuals that really consider themselves uncoachable. They are staunch in their position to be unprofessional in their conduct towards their peers, their colleagues, and the residents. It is so inconsistent with our values. That's really kind of where we have to draw the line.
So like an incorrect hire more than, is that coming up in the first 30, 60, 180 days?
Yeah, typically within the first 90.
Okay. So that's causing, I'm going to say, even more growth in some ways on the jobs. So that 90-day retention is going to be super important when you look at your hires. If that you're losing so many in that first 90 with cultural fit, or we'd like to call it, I would just say really caution that. Remember, there's a 90-day retention on these team members when you're hiring.
In addition, we're doing acquisitions. Since submitting the proposal, we had an emergency takeover that we assisted the state of California in taking over a building that was unlicensed, so that for the residents' sake and the employees' sake, we created that stability. So there's
Okay.
growth there too.
Thank you. Any other questions? No?
Just a comment. If I understand you correctly regarding the behaviors that you were seeing in that first 90 days, to me, I characterize that as temperament. And those behaviors can be corrected, but they're difficult. I would suggest that you modify your interviewing process to check for that.
Thank you. Noted.
Yeah, and then I just had one very small question. You have an out-of-state vendor. I'm just thinking, we've done an awful lot of medical healthcare proposals in the last, I don't know how many months, it feels like it went for a long time. But we had a lot of healthcare. I didn't see any out-of-state vendors. I'm just curious what drives you to this vendor versus maybe one that potentially the others are using. I don't know. It was just curious as to why we're using out-of-state for that one.
Relias as the out-of-state vendor is one of the leading online training facilities or software programs for our industry. It meets all of the training requirements by the state. It also offers a large library that enables us to provide additional training for those that are interested in promotion and moving up within the company. So it's really an all-in-one product that meets our needs.
So is it computer-based training or is it virtual? It's virtual. Okay, just made sure on that language. Fantastic. Thank you. No other questions unless anyone else has any? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Seminio Care's application ET 24-0246 for the amount of $386,147.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thanks. Are you recusing yourself, Mike?
Recuse myself. Yes.
We will not forget to call you back.
Alrighty, so tab 27 is a proposal from FM Industries, Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $324,760 to train 338 workers, including 15 new employees. Training will take place at FM Industries locations in Fremont and Livermore. A representative from FM Industries is present to answer any questions.
Afternoon. My name is Tisha Borgstrom. I'm the Training and Development Manager for FM. And as you're aware, we have operations both in Fremont and Livermore, California. FM's been around for over 35 years, and we specialize in the manufacturing of precision parts, components, and clean room assemblies used throughout the semiconductor industry. Our processes are complex, and it's a challenge from a training perspective to make sure that our employees are kept upskilled and retrained to keep up with our customers' requirements as well as advances in technology. I want to thank the ETP panel. Our previous grants have allowed me to create the custom and specialized training that some of our team members need. The one thing you will notice is FM did underperform on our current contract. I wanted to be proactive and say that was not a reflection on our training of our employees became less important. It's a total reflection on the challenges currently being experienced in the semiconductor industry. We had to make some very tough business decisions. And as a result, we were proactive and reached out to ETP to ask for the necessary modifications on track. This request, we believe, is at a monetary value that we can be successful achieving for everything. And are there any questions?
I have one, unless anyone else has any. Your turnover is extremely high. It's at 19%. Can you help us understand what is going on with that turnover? I know there's a lower performance in one as well, but just generally the turnover, I know there's challenges with the industry, but what was happening with turnover?
So the challenges with the semiconductor industry have been going on for a while. And what that caused at FM was a reduction in production schedules. We attempted through success and cost-efficient efforts and whatever to maintain a healthy bottom line, but the challenges were too significant to overcome. So starting in early February, we started having to make adjustments to our workforce. And those adjustments continued for the next quarter or so. We do believe we are at headcount numbers now that reflect not only current demand, but will also prepare us for future growth in the industry.
I just feel uncomfortable with Turner. So with this contract, how is that going to retain staff? I guess is because we have a job creation element, which makes me a bit uneasy when we've laid off so many. But also, how are we using it to truly train, to retain and upskill? Or do we think this is going to happen again? I know we can't look into a crystal ball and project the future, but I just have a few uncomfortablenesses with this.
Yeah, it's a great question. If you don't mind, just sort of talk
Sure.
about like what they don't want her to talk about at the company, which is like regulatory stuff that comes down from the Fed. So the reasons for the layoffs were specifically a Biden embargo on certain kinds of technology sold to China, right? Key customers are there. Both Lam and Applied are us customers of FM industry. But when he pulled the plug on that, there was parts of stuff on the high seas that just stopped, right? And then revenues that they saw were going to be really difficult for the next 12 months. So they made those adjustments based on that reduction in revenue in direct result of this embargo. So what I would see it as a panel member is like, well, that is a one-time thing. The contractors has this commitment, as are the industry experts in semiconductors. Too bad Mike had to recuse himself, but he should have, is that they're very bullish about where the industry is going. So
We anticipate seeing growth later FY23 and right back up to the.
Is that in conjunction with the CHIPS and Science Act?
correct.
Okay.
So
So he
it's
pulled the
interest-
plug over here and then he's investing over
Correct.
here.
So once he knew that he hurt the semiconductor, he was able to get the CHIPS and Science Act through at the same time. So we're bolstering the semiconductor industry to make up for that loss. But it hit the suppliers. It didn't hit, Lam and Applied as much as it did them. But again, when we put these numbers together, the outlook is for 2024 to be pretty bullish, right? So
Yeah, and
these
we've
are
already started putting programs together.
going up, not the other way.
Any questions?
Motion to approve FM Industries, Inc., contract number ET 24-0254, amount of $324,760.
Sure. Thank you. Any public comment on this? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
I'd like to thank staff, Margaret, I can't pronounce her last name, and Phil. So
Good, thank you, panel. Next, we have tab 28, a proposal from Infinity Energy, Inc., DBA Infinity Energy. They are a repeat contractor requesting $661,020 to train 745 workers, including 285 new employees. Training will take place at Infinity Energy's locations in Rockland, Compton, Riverside, Temecula, Bakersfield, Fresno, Chico, Pleasanton, San Diego, and Escondido. A representative from Infinity Energy is present to answer any questions.
Hello, thank you very much, Chairperson, panel members, for hearing us. It's very exciting for me to be here in person. This is my first time here in person. Last time was virtual, but before I do a quick introduction on our proposal, I just wanted to really thank the people here that Phil and also Jesse from the ETP team with really helping prepare us and making sure that everything's in line for this meeting, as well as Robert Meyer. He was with us at the very beginning of our journey, and it's been just so amazing to us to be able to work with such professional representatives from the state. So thank you very much. So getting into just a little bit about Infinity Energy, this last contract with ETP played such a key role in our ability to roll out specialized training for our technicians and basically our team, and really allowed us to invest in our workers, as well as the technology that we're trying to deploy across the state. Obviously, we have a huge focus in the Central Valley with our Fresno and Bakersfield offices being kind of at the center of our focus here. But it's just, again, it's been an amazing journey to see all this technology improve over the last year. Every year is, if you're looking at anything that's constant, it's change, especially when it comes to technology. So with that, we plan to use the funds from the ETP contract to help our employees and our field technicians to really get out there and know what they're doing, be successful, and serve the people of California. Before I open up to questions, I have been listening here, and I want to make sure that we address jobs 2 and 3. I am certain we can absolutely bring that up to the 2266 to match job 1 as well. If you have any questions, please, I'm here for you.
Would you like to start, or do you want me to start?
I'd like to start if you don't mind, Madam Chair. Thank you for joining us again today. It appears that the purpose of your proposal is to train your workforce to install more DC fast chargers for electric vehicles. Is this correct?
Correct.
That is the bulk of
it's
the summary.
In part.
in part, yes. If you'd like to take this. it's fine.
Yeah, in part. So this really is focused on building their proprietary forever EV charger, fast charger. And so there's a certain amount of the new hires that are fabricators and will be assembling that stuff. And then the other part of it is to install their proprietary fast chargers.
So I raised concern with that coming from the electrical background and electrical industry, that it feels like we are classifying workers as installers/technicians instead of electricians to do electrical work. And that presents a public safety issue. So the installation of EVSE, so electric vehicle supply equipment, needs to be done by electricians.
Correct.
And they are not included in here, but it looks like they might be through the installer/technician category.
They're not. They're
So
not.
what is the installer and technician installing then?
The installer technician takes their proprietary model, sets it in the ground. They have journeyman electricians that do all of any high voltage, any hookup, all of that stuff. And they're excluded from the request for training reimbursement.
Okay, so just yesterday it was announced, wonderfully, no relation to Governor Newsom, but that he is going to be, California is set to distribute $40 million to build out EV fast chargers across the nation. I would imagine that you're very interested in that program. However, I will note that part of that installation needs to be done by a skilled and trained workforce of electricians with an EV ITP certification. We at Policy Committee yesterday are understanding that we're going to have an interagency agreement between the CEC and the ETP to get out more EV ITP certified electricians. The bulk of your proposal, again, is in context to these EV charging stations, and I'm not seeing how you're going to meet that demand with EV ITP.
So
certified electricians.
we've been in talks for the last couple of months. We've known that this funding was coming for EVIP. They plan to actually embrace that program. And they do have a pathway towards apprenticeship, right? They have that pathway. They've been partnering with WECA for the last couple of years. They send anybody that's doing anything electrical lower level through WECA's ET program. The plan is to go ahead and get EVIP certifications for anybody working on that equipment. So that is the plan.
Okay, Jill, we've got an issue here because EVITP certification can only be achieved through either a qualified apprentice that is in an electrical program approved by the state of California or a journey level California State certified electrician. WICA's program that you just mentioned for ETs, which are electrical trainees, are not apprentices.
I got
and are
it.
not on that route to go and achieve that certification of being a journey level electrician. So I have some
So
issues here with this.
Of the about 60 journeyman electricians that they employ, they will be going through EVIP certification.
Okay.
I don't see that called out in the
Yeah, I don't
proposal.
see
I
that,
think
and it's a major problem, but you're listing the installer and technicians. So optically, it looks to me like we're misclassifying workers as installers and technicians when they're doing electrical work.
No, we're not. And that might be kind of vague. One of the things that I think might be problematic in our curriculum is that it's a little broad, and I think it needs to be drilled down to make sure that there's no duplicitous titles or things that are electrical training that duplicate apprenticeship training, right? And so our last contract, it was very pared down, and we're prepared to go back to something like that. We're prepared to work with staff and go back to, make sure that we are in alignment with what you're looking for.
I think that's very much needed, is to go back, take another look at this, pare down the curriculum, specifically the electrical curriculum that's listed in here. That's electrical, electrician, kind of, you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
And that's best served through apprenticeship, which you have with WICA. So we want to
So
see.
our training is really about our proprietary products. Really. I mean, that's really what it's about.
But where it relates to electrical, that's going to be the issue.
I got you.
I'm going to suggest you think about how to write it around the proprietary product rather than the installation, because where I'm hearing there's a rub is around installation with apprentices, certified journeyman, certified installer, electrician type role.
Electrical work is the
versus the production of the EV charger that is the proprietary piece. So I would recommend you think, from what I'm hearing here, there's sounding like we may want to table this to come back to this with a focus around the production side of it more so than the installation side.
Even on the installation side, though, the proprietary product still requires training. The hooking up of a wire is electrical training.
Correct.
But dealing with their proprietary products and the continued improvements of those products and the software that drives the maintenance of those products, all those things do require training.
Yeah, I would,
This
that's
is
what I'm
listed
saying.
as
Focus it that
construction.
way.
Your proposal is listed under construction as a priority industry, and that's electrical. So if it's much more of the manufacturing kind of component or the warehousing or the proprietary product that's not related to electrical and all the safety issues that come with that, that's where I'm advising you to take another look at that. We're talking DC fast chargers and higher voltage, and there's safety issues, and I'm gonna keep saying EVITP, electrical training, electrical apprentices, if that's what you're gonna keep coming back to me with. So pare this down, focus it again, and come back to us.
Okay.
All right. So any other questions from the panel? Do I hear any motions?
Motion to table to a future meeting.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Tab 29 is a proposal from John K. Takata Corporation, DBA Restoration Management. They're a repeat contractor requesting $594,895 to train 466 workers, including 57 new employees. Training will take place at John K. Takata's locations in Los Angeles, Hayward, Benicia, San Jose, Stockton, San Diego, Sacramento, Lake Forest, Riverside, and San Mateo. A representative from John K. Takata is present to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, panel. Thank you for having me and considering our motion for additional funds. My name is Bernadette Calvo. I'm here, VP of Human Resources and Safety. I've been with the company for 5 years and have been proud to build the type of environment that we have for our company, where we're hired to retire is our slogan. So we have long-term employees that we want to continue to grow, provide career paths for so that they can provide for their families. I'm here to answer any questions.
Does the panel have any questions?
Are you going to ask about active projects?
I'm going to pass it to you.
Okay. So when we're presented with different contracts that are active, you have a current active project right now and the potential earnings is listed at only 3% and that you're projecting to reach to 100%, there's a level of uncomfortability with us that it's like, is this too soon that you're coming back to us?
But it's literacy, this one that's active.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm not asking, because it's literacy. So it's only, I
Got
know,
me
that's why
today.
I was like, what are you?
Keeping
literacy
literate.
one. but
Retracting
it's
my
true,
question.
You know, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to hand it to you then. You ask the questions.
No, I don't have any questions. When you said to me, I was like, I don't think I have any. But
It's late.
she's like, I'm just going to pull on what Rebecca pulls on, and Rebecca's going to pull on what Gretchen pulls on. It's okay. Okay. Does the panel have any questions?
Motion to approve contract number ET 24-0252 in the amount of $594,895.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any public comment? So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Tab 30 is a proposal from Keysight Technologies, Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $499,560 to train 334 workers, including 84 new employees. Training will take place at Keysight's locations in Santa Rosa, Santa Clara, and Roseville. A representative from Keysight Technologies is present to answer any questions.
I thank you, Madam Chair and members of the ETP panel for considering Keysight's application. My name is Janine Oravillo. I am part of the Keysight America's Country HR team. I have been with Agilent Keysight now for about 23 years, and our team focuses mostly on employee relations. At Keysight, we accelerate innovation to connect and secure the world through hardware and software solutions for electronic measurement instrumentation. Our products are used by customers across industries, including communications, networking, aerospace, defense, government, automotive, energy, semiconductors, and electronic equipment manufacturers. So finding and keeping talent is one of the biggest challenges for Keysight, and we have firm plans for investing in workforce training to reskill and upskill our employees as we continue to lead and develop cutting-edge technology. The courses presented to you today are designed to be comprehensive, addressing both technical expertise as well as soft skills essential for professional growth for our employees. And here in California, ETP has been a catalyst to deliver more customized training that has been vital for both our employee and organizational success. Our senior management team is pleased with the results of the past ETP contracts and feel privileged to partner with the state of California to develop our employees. Thank you again for hearing our proposal. Philip Herrera and I will answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does the panel have questions?
Motion to approve Keysight Technologies, Inc., contract number ET 24-0251 in the amount of $499,560.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
So much.
Alrighty, tab 31 is a proposal from Montage Medical Group. They are a first-time contractor requesting $335,616 to train 228 workers, including 30 new employees. Training will take place at Montage Medical's locations in Monterey County. A representative from Montage Medical Group is present to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, panel members. My name is Jasmine Ensley, and I'm the Executive Director with Montage Medical Group, and I have Jason Dutton, our consultant, here with us today. Just a little bit about Montage Medical Group. We're a community medical group affiliated with a community hospital in Monterey, California. And our mission really is to serve the shortage of physicians in our community. It's not to employ existing physicians. It's not to acquire existing medical practices, but to actually recruit new specialties into our community that our community is facing a shortage of. So as a result of that, we do have fairly extreme hiring needs and have had extreme hiring needs over the last several years. This year, we are looking at recruiting 10 to 12 additional providers into our medical group, and we employ an average of 2.25 FTEs per full-time provider. So we're excited about this funding. We are very proud of our current training curriculum. We, this last year, have focused a lot of effort on retention and training our staff with power skills, soft skills, business skills that they can take further with them into their career. A lot of our training historically has been focused on our electronic health record. So if we're approved for this funding, we hope to use it for those additional skills and really to focus on retention.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? No. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Montage Medical Group and an ETP funding amount of $335,616.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. You're welcome.
Tab 32 is a proposal from Oregon Pacific Building Products, Inc. They are a repeat contractor requesting $438,840 to train 318 workers, including 107 new employees. Training will take place at Oregon Pacific Building Products locations in Sacramento and Ontario. Representatives from Oregon Pacific Building Products are present to answer any questions.
Hi there. Good afternoon. Thank you, first of all, for hearing our proposal, and thank you for the time that you take on this panel. My name is Derek Abbott. I am the Training and Development Manager at ORPAC, also known as Oregon Pacific Building Products. I am here just tell you thank you for our past proposal, which we funded at 100%. It has increased a lot of our retention, technical trainings, safety, and some of our business acumen just across our company. 14 months ago, I was hired as the Training Development Manager. I come from 18 years in education, leadership training, so brought me in to kind of really bolster the program. We want to do a good leadership development program, which we implemented 9 months ago. And we've also implemented another program, which I call the Program for Optimizing Potential, trying to give some of these skills to our workforce that anybody can be part of to kind of try to bring them up, give them, I guess you could say, kind of climb the ladder, if you will, give them those skills so that they can come into leads and supervisor roles as well. So we are really, really strongly looking at development in our company and trying to help that workforce there. Besides our technical training, we have new equipment coming on board, and we also have some contracts with Home Depot coming on board as well. That's going to help grow our workforce. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just the name of Oregon Pacific Building Products. You're not training outside of California. All the workers are here, of course.
Well, two of our branches are here in California. So this entire proposal is just for our California branches. We do have
Just
8 other. Yeah, we do have 8 other branches.
So we're seeing, and I just want to check the growth that we're looking at, huge growth, 107 out of 220 currently. What really is fueling, and I want you to be successful on this, it's a large number. So what is fueling that, and how are you proposing your training plans to really meet that, and retention? Because retention's okay on your turnover, but looking at that, like, how are you addressing all of those?
Yeah, it is aggressive growth plan.
Pretty aggressive. Yeah.
One of these big ones is we already have a partnership with Home Depot, but we just implemented in Oregon a new manufacturing mill. We haven't been in the manufacturing business, but molding and millwork, we're going to be manufacturing that. So we are right now in the works of signing a bigger contract with Home Depot, which we know will grow this business here in California. And that is actually just a California contract with Home Depot.
That could double, pretty much give you 50% growth in your employees. Okay.
Absolutely.
So if it doesn't go through, Just saying, because deals don't always go through. You're probably going to want to work with your field staff to adjust your contract. Otherwise, you will feel it if you come back to panel on performance and the right sizing. So that would be my very strong advice. If it doesn't, for some reason, that deal doesn't go through and you know you're going to be off track of that high number, please work with staff to adjust if you think that's going to be, because it could affect in future.
Absolutely.
Because we are performance-based.
I'd also like to see your wages move up from job number 2 to those stated in job number 1. So the post-contractual wage from job 2 stated at 20 to instead 22.66.
Yes, we can do that.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions?
Motion to approve Oregon Pacific Building Products, California, Inc. In an ETP funding amount of $438,840 with the notion that the post-retention contractual wage of job number 2 will move from $20 an hour to those listed in job number 1 at $22.66 an hour.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any comment from the public on this proposal? So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
All right, panel members, please turn to the MEC tab and we will start with number 33, which is for Studio Arts Ltd. Please note a correction on the bottom of page 1 for the in-kind contribution. It should not be inherent and should be a dollar amount at $180,747. Studio Arts is a repeat MEC contractor requesting $361,494 to train 342 retrainees located statewide. Studio Arts last requested training funds at the August 2021 panel meeting. However, due to panel concerns regarding prior performance and the pending audit at that time, the proposal was denied. The audit has since been completed. And Studio Arts worked with ETP field, fiscal, and audit staff to include contractual safeguards provided in this proposal, which are listed on page 3 underneath the title Safeguards. Please note that all the items in number 4 will be added into the contract if approved. Additionally, multiple union support letters have been received. Company representatives are present to answer any panel members' questions and concerns.
Good afternoon, panel. My name is Eric Kilsman. I'm president of Studio Arts, and thank you very much for hearing our proposal today. Ms. Chair and the rest of the panel, I would like to let you know that I'm here to answer any questions you might have about this current proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open up to the panel for questions.
Just one question regarding the.
Go ahead, Mike.
The current strike situation is how will that, or if it does impact your ability to do the training?
How is the strike affecting the training?
Yeah.
At this point, we are doing what's called Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act training for those who are out of work. And as far as ETP goes, I think the people who are not affected by the strike at this point would be those people who are staff at the companies that we'd be do training for. However, for the union represented workers at those companies, yes, there has been a work slowdown due to the work stoppage with now the Screen Actors Guild, but formerly with the Writers Guild.
So I guess to Mike's question on there is, when we look at retention and windows of retention from contracts, how are you feeling about people going through training actually being able to be meeting that retention based on potential slowdowns in industry at the moment because of the writers' strikes or because of the strikes? Can you help us with that piece? Because that's, I think, what you're angling at, is the worry about that retention period.
And the performance of the contract.
Yeah, the performance of the contract based on we may be training, but then they're not able to be employed because of the strike, because who knows how long this strike is going to go. It feels like it's going for some time. So can you help us understand that a bit better?
I wish I could. You know, I've been through 3 strikes now. I was on the picket line in '88 at the Ratner Studio Gate, CBS, and I was with my writing partner, and he was WGA, and I was his sidekick writer, but I was on the picket line. The following year, I was on the picket line with the United Teachers Los Angeles as a chapter chair, and one led to the next because I couldn't get work as a writer for a long time and I had to support myself. So I became a teacher. I joined UTLA, United Teachers Los Angeles, and right away they said, "You're a chapter chair." So I was a strike captain in '89. And then in 2007, we had another work action in Hollywood. And I would say between the two of '88 and 2007, it's about a 6-month period. That's the gestation from the end of a strike to actual production. Now, for a lot of our trainees, they're doing pre-production. So some of them have already gone off to work. And by these trainees, I mean the people who were working, were coming to us, so the WIOA. And I'm so happy to report that at least 2 of them just today got placed on a job. And they do, one is a graphic designer and the other one is a set designer. So the graphic designers and set designers, anybody who is working on pre-production or crafts that are involved with setting up the sets and the lights and things like that, are likely to come back to work, I'd say between now and the end of the year, in lieu of the settlement that SAG is going to have with the producers, but whenever that is.
I think we have the retention period of 90 days, but you have a retention modification of at least 500 hours within 272 days. I just don't know, with the strike going on, if that retention will be easy to meet once it comes back, because it sounds like the training is being done for things that are required once the strike comes back up, once the strike is, solved, whatever we want to call it. Then construction will start again on building a sets or writing and those kind of pieces. I have a feeling it feels a bit hard on retention. I know, looking at past audits and other things as well, retention can be an issue. And I want you to be successful. I've seen the notes from the previous audits. I've seen, the clauses that have been put in for this one. And this feels like maybe timing, and I say this, timing feels a bit squishy with the strikes going on. And I want you to be successful with your retention so you are able to fund this training and get the reimbursement for this training. So it's just one of my watch outs. I don't know if any other panel members have any other feelings or have the same sentiment. I think that's what you were angling at, Mike, correct?
Yeah, I was wondering if you might have to modify the contract at some point.
Just to add, a potential modification that you could do on this contract, as far as the dates, we are able to shift the dates of the funding anytime during the fiscal year.
Okay.
So technically, we could move these until the end of May to have that be the start date, because that's kind of an unknown. So I just want to throw that out there, because that's basically how that would work to modify anything if, say, training couldn't take place now because of the strike.
And that once the strike's resolved, to be able to better prove it, that they have any time to the beginning of the end of this fiscal year to start the contract, and for them to,
Correct.
studio us to
The
say,
only
yes, we want to start because the strike's been resolved, for example.
Only thing that would change, if it changes over the calendar year, then we have to go into the wages for the next calendar year, but they're not very different next calendar year from this calendar year. So it's pretty similar.
Thanks, Ryan. Anyone else?
Does that sound good to you? Changing the start date of that contract to May?
I'm a little confused about when I could.
It could be any time. So what we can do, what we're saying is we're recommending not to start your training right now, but to say to staff when we're ready, we're saying, look, we will approve potentially with the set criteria and anything else that comes up in discussion, but you have the option to say defer to all the way through till May before it would have to be readjusted with wages. So you would be able to start, say, if it was resolved in 2 weeks' time, you could say November 30th, I want to start. Traditionally, a panel will say, okay, we approve, the contract starts that day, the clock starts ticking. What we're trying to do to help set you up for, I'm going to say, stronger success given the strike and retention periods, is you have till May to say, hey, I'm good to go December 1st, because the strike's resolved. I know people will have work. Off we go. They'll meet their retention. So you have all the way till May 1st. It just means your clock doesn't start ticking on your contract until you say to staff, I'm good to go. We just want to make sure retention and success of contract for you.
Okay,
Does
so
that
I
make
have some
sense?
questions.
Yeah.
So the gestation would be the same. It'd still be 21 months of training with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And the retention periods will remain the same, and all of the conditions of the contract. It's just we're extending out when you could actually start. Correct, Ryan?
Correct. Now, if the project is approved, it's going to have the start date for next week, whatever's typical in there, and then go through that process to get executed. So it is a modification that's allowed for any contractor for if they don't start training to shift those dates to a further date. And that's just open for anyone through the basic modification process. So as long as there's no training that's been taken place, then we can move those dates.
Okay, well, I take anything honestly, but the point I wanted to make here was that there's already interest. I mean, we have at least 25 companies, I think it's more like 30, that have responded to our coming to panel today. And they have been having things they'd like to have us do with their employees. So if we could, and I'm just throwing it out there because I don't know when the strike is going to be over. Nobody knows.
No, we don't.
I would say the safest bet for me would be to put off training until the beginning of the calendar year, which would be like maybe the first week of January. Because even if the strike were settled today, the issue would be that all these productions who now have cold sets are going to have to come back.
It's a whole knock on, isn't it, of work being frozen for so many months. And that's what we really want to be able to set you up with success on those criteria of that side of it.
If that makes sense to you folks, I'm all for it. I agree with you. I don't know when the strike's going to be over. It will obviously impact this particular contract. And my concern would be not so much the retention as the performance, would be more like maybe 60% or 70%. We don't want that either. Well, no, before I go, the wages have been good progressively over the last two contracts. I just checked ET18 was at $39 an hour as a median average wage. I'm expecting, because of the strikes, there is some positive news. They'll be making more. And I think that we're going to look at some of these workers making anywhere from 40 to 45 an hour on this contract. So there is some good news at the end of it. We need these work actions to keep everybody honest about what's going on in the business.
Absolutely. I'm going to hand to legal.
Maybe I'm getting hungry. I think what I was hearing is that there's a contemplation of a motion to approve this training proposal, but that there be an agreed upon modification of the start of the term date. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Because of the strike action and not knowing when it will end, that to modify to when Media Arts comes back and says, we are ready to go, as long as it's within this fiscal year. Otherwise, we have to readjust some things to be able to do that.
That's fine. And I'll defer to Ryan's comments on that. I was just wanting to make sure I understood what the motion would look like.
But it's going to be a longer motion because I have
I've got a
concerns
couple
about the audit
questions.
findings, and we'll read that into the motion.
Any other questions? I do have one question if no one else does. So in the audit findings, there were, again, I'm talking about performance, and I looked at the audit findings, feels a bit like there were issues in multiple contracts. Given that, and given everything that's happening with writers' strikes, making sure retention and all those, what I would like to add in, this is an add into the motion, I think, is to consider coming back 6 months after the active contract and then 12 months, just so we can be feeling good that progress is happening, given prior audit findings, writers' strike. So if a writer's strike happens again, who knows? We never know. Just to make sure that we're really helping you through. I know staff is going to be there as well, but I would just like to know that things are going right for you, and we can help to try and right size if it's not, or adjust right directions, whatever it may be, going forward, just so that you are set up for success.
I think that's fantastic. And that is so generous of this panel.
Okay.
This has been a lot to me for many years now, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck on this motion. You ready for it?
Ready. See if I'm skilled and trained at this.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve Studio Arts Ltd in a ETP funding amount of $361,494 with the following contingencies. We're going to include in the terms of their ETP contract the following conditions. Invoice for credit only. Payments will be dispersed once the trainee's hours are deemed earned. This process is in place to prevent possible overpayment and to ensure compliance. Closeout contract by ETP fiscal and must be considered earned before returning for a future contract in order to maintain earnings accuracy and transparency before returning to ETP for future funding. Also use actual hours, start and end times from Zoom usage reports to prevent duplication and ensure accurate tracking of hours spent training. Course schedule hours will not be reported for ETP tracking purposes. Also, paper-based rosters permitted exclusively for in-person hands-on equipment sessions, which constitute less than 10% of the total allocated hours, and maintain unaltered Zoom CSV usage reports and corresponding ETP uploaded Excel files to ensure the accuracy of the data. Modifying usage reports could compromise data integrity, and by keeping them unchanged, the reliability of the information is preserved. Also, with the caveat that you will be returning to full panel in 6 months and 12 months once training has commenced this fiscal year to report out on your progress, and that we are doing a modification on the start date of your training of the contract or training hours of the contract to start later this fiscal year in January 2024.
Can we make that December 31st?
December 31st. Oh, yeah. I said that. December 31st, 2023.
Sounds right and good.
Second.
Thank you for that second. Are there any comments from the public on this proposal and that motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job. Is that the longest you've done?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, panel members. Let's turn to tab 34. This is a training proposal for SOMA AEC Inc., DBA Oxman College, a priority industry and a repeat contractor. Total ETP funding being requested today is for $749,808. That's to train estimated number of trainees of 40 under job 1, retrainee in an HUA for medical skills, job 2, 20 for job number 2, retrainee priority rate, job 3, retrainee medical skills set with 20 estimated number of trainees, and 118 for job 4, job creation medical skills set as well. For this proposal, training will be delivered at the participant employer work sites. This project will be Oxman College's 18th ETP contract and its 7th in the last 5 years. Here today to answer your questions are the company representatives.
So, Sonia Pugat, Program Director.
Michael Dworkin, President of the Oxford College.
Good afternoon, panel members and staff. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our proposal today. We'd like to thank the staff, our development analyst, Robert Jackson, and manager, Chris Hoover, for all their help with preparing and updating our proposal. Thank you, panel members, for reviewing our proposal and making important recommendations. We are especially grateful for the opportunity to clarify a couple of questions that were addressed to us in advance of today's meeting. Specifically, we removed 2 employers located in Sacramento from our list of participating employers to make sure that we concentrate our efforts on the Bay Area counties. After removing Sacramento companies, we still have more than enough trainees to support this proposal. Secondly, our packet indicates on page 3, 140 seats for new trainees, which was an initial estimate, but currently this number is much higher. Actually, in healthcare jobs, job 1, 3, and 4, we have 100% of new participating employers and trainees. We expect only a few repeat trainees in job 2, computer skills, that could take advanced level in Revit software. Additionally, as requested at the July panel, we applied all requested revisions, including in this proposal, we'll focus on the employers located in the Bay Area counties rather than the entire state. We increased the starting wage in job 1, high unemployment area, from $17 to $19, and in job 4, job creation, from $18.54 to $19. We reduced the list of occupations to focus only on nurses and CNAs and removed the generic healthcare worker occupation. Also, we included in the proposal a brief description of our school history, approvals, and long-term experience with on-site training and healthcare programs. In total, we have over 30 years of experience dedicated to the successful completion of various ETP projects dating back to 1993. In this proposal, we'll provide computer skill training in the advanced Revit software for engineers and architects, and medical skills training for healthcare facilities. Both types of trainings are in high demand and are key factors for increasing employees' retention and for supporting career advancement. Thank you very much again for considering our proposal.
Thank you. Does the panel have questions?
You guys were just before us last month for a similar amount, and you're coming back again for another bite at the apple. It is a separate funding stream. But I'm starting to question myself, and this is your 18th contract. I'm starting to question to myself as to like, how many more times at the bite of the apple are you going to take? And for me, the most important issue that I always raise again and again is wage progression for the workers that you are training. This is a little bit of a broker model where you're kind of going out and finding workers and employees that are asking for their employees to be trained. There's a disconnect between the employer and the employee because you're kind of in the middle of things. I take a look at, one of the other contracts that we just approved with Montage Medical Group, and they have much higher wages stated for their medical employees. And you're coming in still, I know you just said that you increased it from 17 to 19, but theirs is at 21.50. Monterey, the same HUA. I don't even know how Monterey's a HUA, but it might be the agricultural community.
Agricultural community.
It's agricultural, which I grew up next to. So I have some frustration with that as to, is this the best use of our dollars?
Yeah, well, in terms of another contract, I get it. We just came.
Exactly.
We actually just completed 2 concurrent contracts for 600,000 each. One was the core and another expansion contract. And we did 100% performance for both. So, and we have dedicated staff.
Right. So as a broker kind of model for that, you're doing a great job of getting those workers trained and then getting the ETP funding to pay you essentially for the ETP training. What I'm not seeing as a panel member is the increased quality of life for those workers, the betterment of their own trajectory and careers. I'm not seeing their voice represented in your proposals that keep coming before us for things, because there's this lack of connection for that. And when I see the lower wage of 19, I want it to be higher at 21.50 minimum. Like that's where this is kind of rubbing me the wrong way.
We could definitely increase our wages.
Do
you recommend the 21.50?
We're gonna do
But
Price is Right.
$20.01 we prepare for you to see. Actually, will be maybe 125. We just might some of the nursing home in hospitals.
Wait, how much is the wage you just negotiated or attempted to negotiate?
$20.01.
I said 21.50.
Okay. Yep.
Because some of them we will get $72 per hour.
But do you understand the frustration that I'm like, I need to see the voices represented of those that you're training. I don't want to see a 19th contract come in without those voices represented. I want to see their stories in your contract because it'll be the 19th time next time around.
I started from $10 as an engineer, 1981.
Yes, sir. Don't mean to age you, but that was a long time ago.
This is how immigrants grow in UN and non-documented. I'm documented worker in grow to the honor, professional PE electrical engineer. Actually, I want to offer some of the program retraining electrician who retire, become electrical designer. I done it myself. After maybe 56. Cannot work as an electrician. It's a very hard job. I was working as an electrician on a ship, cargo ship. So this is how I started my career.
I think to your point, it's around hearing a success story from employers or where are the where are these wages, as they're going through these trainings, what are the progressions that people are going through? I struggle a bit with healthcare, and I say this because we approved a lot of healthcare, and we approved a healthcare for you last panel meeting. It's kind of coming into a fuzz here, but we approved, and I think the wages were considerably higher in that healthcare one. I almost want to pull it, but I haven't had a chance to pull it. And I just wonder, are we making up for one versus the other when you had one that is healthcare workforce act one that was one wage? Do we just say we approve on the Healthcare Act of the same jobs from the past one to remain consistent in what is, I know every employer is different, for-profit, non-profit. And remember, Healthcare Act also allowed for non-profits, not just for-profits. So I'd almost angle that a for-profit should be able to up theirs versus a non-profit. So I don't know what we approved last time on those jobs, but I'm wondering, is that the direction you're wanting to go?
Non-profit actually pay much more. Be surprised, much more. They give you to like $10,000 to stay 1 year in retention. They pay excellent.
But that's not the base salary. That's a bonus, which is taxed differently, income differently. What we're saying is that base salary. I don't know what we approved last. I don't remember. I vaguely remember a $25, but I almost feel, should we be being consistent across?
It's lower.
It's lower, is it,
Yeah,
from last time? I thought
last month was retrainee job number 1, 2266, and then job number 2, retrainee 1854.
We didn't up it. I thought it got upped.
Maybe we did up it, but I can't find the minutes.
I'd have to find the minutes to look at it. Chris is looking at me going, she's on one.
Minutes.
It's on 1:30.
I know, it could have been, that does ring a bell a little bit.
I remember there was a
Oh, there it is.
$25 for like 2025 for CNAs, because I remember that's the first time I'd heard it.
Member
can't
Newsom
remember.
moved and Member Smiles seconded approval of the proposal submitted by SOMA AEC in an amount of $735,000, with the understanding that we're moving the minimum wages for the CNAs up to from $21.01 to $22 per hour, and lifting the wages listed in the lower amount in job number 2 up to the higher amounts listed in job number 1. I remember that motion. That was a mess.
It was a mess, but I remember it. And I'm just wondering if you want to apply from
I'm
a
gonna apply that right
consistency
now.
of contracts.
22.
If you are okay with that, to help with this motion of any other questions? Anyone else?
Okay, here we go.
You have it.
Motion to approve SOMA AEC DBA Oxman College, contract number ET 24-0106, and an ETP funding amount of $749,808, with the understanding that we're going to move the post-retention contractual wages of jobs number 1 and 4 from $19 an hour to $22 an hour.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this proposal? No. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we have tab 35, a proposal from the San Joaquin County Economic Development Association. They are a repeat contractor requesting $146,000, $146,862 to train 199 trainees. Training will take place at the participating employers' work sites throughout San Joaquin County. A representative from the San Joaquin County Economic Development Association is present to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, panel. I am Francisco Martin, a Business Retention and Expansion Specialist for San Joaquin County's Economic Development Association. I want to thank Phil Boyer and Jordan Fetch. They've been a great help over the last couple months getting this application into you guys, and I'm available for any questions.
Does the panel have any questions?
You've got some pretty low wages listed.
So with the 42 estimated employees in the $17 to $20 range, within the first 6 months, those should be outside of that range. Speaking with those employers, I did get confirmation with the certifications or the training that they should be outside of those. We can definitely keep that on top and get you guys that information.
Can we move the post contractual wage? This is after they finish their training up to 2166 instead of 17.
I would say we can, being all of it is 100% in-kind contribution. I don't want to speak for those vendors or for those employers yet, but I'm saying that we should be able to. I just can't 100% speak for them.
Okay, that'll be my motion. And I haven't made it yet because we're gonna ask questions.
No, that's okay. I wasn't asking for that yet. Any
I have
other
a-
questions?
Yeah, I have another question in that there's a wage modification part here also. Or I could figure out wage modification 2266 to 17 per hour for jobs 1 and 2. Does that conflict with what we just said?
Yeah, that's the point, Mike, where I'm essentially saying no wage modification.
Right.
That's why she's got that accurate number of 2166. Is that right? Okay, any other questions? No? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve San Joaquin County Economic Development Association with an ETP funding amount of $146,862 with the understanding that we're going to move the post-retention contractual wage for all jobs listed from $17 an hour to $22.66 an hour.
Second.
Second, thank you. Is there any public comment on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who's opposed say nay. It's that time of day. And any abstentions, the motion is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, next we have tab 36, a proposal from the Workforce Development Board of Contra Costa County, DBA WDBCCC. They're a repeat contract requesting $749,675 to train 165 trainees, including 40 new hires. Training will take place at WDBCCC's locations in Richmond and the participating employers' work sites in Alameda and Contra Costa County. A representative from WDBCCC is present to answer any questions.
Hello, panel members. Thank you for hearing our proposal today. My name is Jed Silver. I'm a program manager with the Workforce Development Board of Contra Costa County. I can hear people's stomachs growling, but I couldn't help but react to Ms. Newsom's comment about liking to hear the people's stories in the application. So I was going to go through my normal little spiel, but that hit me. And so pardon me for just half a second to dive into that. This really is a replication and scaling of a past previous ETP project that born our concept and our mantra and our touchstone is about helping the emergency services and medical workforce reflect the vibrant diversity of the communities we serve. That's our touchstone. And how do we do that? We started with an ETP contract, a new hire in 2021 around getting people of color from underserved communities and other underrepresented groups, including women, into the EMT trade. Now, we did this successfully. We were able to target the target population, recruit them directly, get them into an EMT program. We helped with other funds from WIOA and Workforce Accelerator Fund grants to provide stipends, academic assistance such as tutoring and exam prep. Long story short, once they finished their class, they were directly hired into EMT jobs. And we want to replicate and scale that model. From there, after that successful ETP project, we used WIOA funds and WAF funds to do 3 more cohorts, bringing us up to 75 people, 89% people of color from underserved communities, 65% women, and nearly 86% of those had never been to college before and had no medical experience at all in the field. So from there, we didn't pat ourselves on the back. Well, we did a little bit, but we didn't stay patting ourselves on the back. We thought, how can we get, this is the story, how do we get those EMTs to the next step, right? Which is paramedic. So it's been a couple years. We thought, if you're an EMT, you're a person of color from underserved community, you've never been to college, you've never been in the health career. We get you licensed as the EMT, you're working on as an EMT, 40 hours a week. Now we're coming back saying, okay, how do we go to paramedic school? Normally, you would have to work 40 hours a week and go to paramedic school in your off time. We just didn't think that was realistic for our target population. So the only way to do it is apprenticeship, right? So we get an agreement from the employer to not just have the people work and go to school, but to have that total amount be 40 hours. So they're working as an EMT for 26 hours and then going to school for 14 hours, but they're getting paid the entire time. And that was done on a DAS, Division of Apprenticeship Standard grant for equity and inclusion. And we just yesterday got the final word from the Department of Labor that our standards have been approved. So this is really a culmination of that effort. And so I just want to let you know that those EMTs, when you talk about advancement and where do we go next and how do we tell that story, we start with new hire. And then how do we use that same model of advanced and enhanced support services from the academic and the financial supports to take them from EMT to paramedic? And we believe this is the way. We're excited to be here. We appreciate all the efforts that you guys have given us to help us. And I'm here to answer any questions.
I have a very quick question. So you are saying the apprentice program is not this group, but it's taking them from an EMT to the paramedic. I just want to make sure because there's lots of money in non-traditional and that would fall under IACA and that side. So I just don't want the double dipping.
Yeah, no, we're not double dipping because we don't technically have our DAS registration yet, right? We have to go from DOL first. We have to get our standards from DOL, which we just signed yesterday, and then wait our 30-day period. So this current group would not fall under that apprenticeship, but I'm just letting you know the continuum of how we're trying to get our EMTs to paramedic.
Fantastic. I just know there was a set not long ago approved for non-firefighters on paramedics. So I know that and the EMTs. So just don't want you double dipping in that sense because it's not a good look.
No, ma'am.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you. I have raised significant concerns with other entities and employers that are training EMTs and have this expectation that the EMT is going to magically get their training done while working 40 plus hours a week, and they're burning themselves at both ends of the candle, and it just isn't happening while being paid severely low wages. What you've done here is change the entire industry and system, and I commend you on that. And I hope that staff can share your story, not just like perhaps including it in our annual report of like how to do things properly, but also connect your program with those of the other EMT programs that we funded previously for here's something that you should all be looking at.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for the panel?
Motion to approve contract number ET 240247 in the amount of $744,500.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. Any comments from the public on this one?
Just I have a different amount. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
want to confirm the amount. $749,675.
All right. That was a sizable difference. I know it's getting late. Okay, so with the correct amount, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving swiftly on. It's been a day. We are now moving to the time for panel members to request agenda items for either future panel or potentially policy. So I know I brought one up after audit to have fiscal to come in and do a similar presentation would be fantastic. I have one for policy because, you know, it's been one of those days around, it's been a lot of contracts this time looking at coming in. I'm going to say right at close of current contracts coming in to come in for future funds, thinking about retention cycles, etc. Can we look at some point in policy, should we be setting policy related to how frequently someone can come in from having an active contract to having a closed contract, etc.? Just with some of the things like audit findings, makes me just wonder, should we be looking at that a bit for accuracy and performance-based?
I'm sure Liz Testa is listening actively right now and taking notes, and so am I. She's right there. Excellent.
Any other items from panel?
I'd like to see policy committee take another look at what incentives we are offering for job creation and why we continue to propose lower wages when we need to be moving in the opposite direction, in my perspective.
So the true definition of job creation and what's
if you're going to request lower wages connected to job creation, do a better job explaining to me why that's necessary, or just don't and pay higher wages.
Okay, and the numbers that may be suited per organization. Okay, sounds good. Any others? I'm looking down. All right, now it's coming to that time. We've got a very limited audience. It's not staff. I thought Phil wanted to stay to have a comment, but maybe not. So we're now coming to public comments, the opportunity for the public to address the panel on any issues that are not scheduled on today's agenda. We obviously cannot act on these, but may refer matters to staff for review and possible future panel action. Do I have any public comments, either in the room or online, or has everyone gone to sleep?
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Renee Pierce. I went to a very fun retirement party last night. She is one of my very favorite former coworkers.
Thank you. My name is Renee Pierce and I am retired. So I guess I'm public. Actually, not until the 31st, but who's counting? I just wanted to take a minute, and I know this has been a really long day and really tough, but I just had to say thank you to the panel for all that you do. But I have to shout out to Robert Meyer, who's been my manager for these last several years and been an inspiration to me in bringing the passion of ETP to me. I started out in private service and private practice and never appreciated what a California agency could do to change the lives not only of employers, but of the employees. And I've seen this in practice for the last several years, how it has changed lives. And it doesn't happen without all these great people behind me. It's a great program, and I will continue to follow you in my retirement. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, everybody. I really love all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't know how you follow that one. Anyone else with any public comment? I think that's it. Yeah. So nothing online, just checking. So I think we swiftly move to, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Adjourn.
Who's seconding? Second, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. We're done. Thank you.
I know, man. I know. I was heading over to my wife.